Try it again.
How we doing? Does that sound okay? I can keep going.
Yeah, I think it sounds really good.
One more time.
Sounds good. I don't really have any. Oh no, I have nothing to say. This is bad with the start.
That's it.
And
Not saying you have nothing to say is helpful.
And that is wrapping up our commentary on Gremlins here.
Hello, you beautiful freaks, and welcome to a brand new episode, a new Christmas episode of FREAKQUELS. I'm EJ Leeson. The EJ stands for extra jolly. And along with me today is the best guy who ever won an ugly Christmas sweater, Rory, Colorado. I fucked that up.
I've never officially won an ugly
Oh, you
sweater.
never won?
No.
Oh, that was just you?
That was
just your sweater.
No, I actually wear like $2,000 sweaters everywhere I go.
Oh,
I spend
people just mistake them for...
Yeah, they're just like, that's really expensive, but very ugly.
What do you mean?
You should enter that contest.
What do you mean, ugly sweater? This Naruto sweater I have, and I wear that all the time. It's my casual anime sweaters.
You should enter a contest, man. You'd win for ugly sweater.
What are you talking about?
Man, you dress like shit. And
I don't
also
like
with
being
us,
here anymore.
a very special guest, fan favorite. You may remember him from our episode of Starship Troopers, Mr. Casey Clocker. What's up, buddy?
Ho, ho, ho. How's it going?
Good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing okay.
Yeah, I'm so pumped that you're back. We were really pumped to have you come back. I know you're a super busy guy, so whenever you're like, yeah, I'm down, and we're like, yeah, we secretly party.
True story. Whenever I get into conversations with people who admit to listening to the podcast,
Yes.
you're always the top person. That
Yeah.
like, why don't you bring that guy back?
Yeah.
I remember I was talking to Adam Farley about that. He's like, who's the guy who did Starship Troopers? I'm like, that was Casey Clocker. He's like, he's so good.
yeah.
But
I'm going to be mentioning Adam a lot.
That's an honor.
and then he was explaining how good you were, and then I just kept saying, hey, yeah, that's great. Talk about me.
Yeah.
Am I funny?
Am I good?
Or it's like those bugs, they sure are good. We might need to find another reptile or cold-blooded animal movie to bring him back for.
He's our reptile
we
guy.
need slimy bug reptilian things. Yeah.
They use the word pupil stage a lot. Or
Putrid.
Putrid. Yeah,
putrid.
This is an ongoing joke in this film.
Also, so what's new with you guys? Any new movies? Rory, did you see anything? Or Casey, let's start with you.
Let's start with the guest.
Sure.
Yeah.
What are some new movies you got to see recently?
Well, I'm on a quest to see 25 movies in the theater this year, so I've been recently seeing a whole bunch. So I saw Wicked, which was very, very good.
It's really good.
Yeah, I had kind of seen the advance notice of that, before seeing it.
Yeah.
Tell you what, it delivered on all counts.
Yeah, I loved it. I did not expect me to embrace it. I love the original Wizard of Oz. So to me, at first, I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna dig this.
Right.
And then when I saw it, I was just like, yeah, this rocks. This is really good. I get the hype.
Wicked is actually my partner Christy's thing. She has a tattoo that has Defying Gravity on it, and stuff like that.
Really?
It's something that she really, likes and enjoys. So for me, going, I really had never seen it. I'd never seen the play before. So I kind of was going, yeah, I want to share this with her, right? It's so awesome being with someone and getting to see what they really like, right?
Yeah.
I did not expect to kind of walk away enjoying it as much as I did. Now, I still have questions about how it's going to relate to the Wizard of Oz and stuff like that. But with that being said, really, really good film.
Yeah. Ariana Grande.
Yeah.
Right? I just have to talk about her for a second because she, I mostly know her for her music and stuff. She actually really impressed me a lot. Her acting. Mm-hmm. I knew she was going to sound great singing whatever, right? But when she was acting in that movie, I was really, really impressed because, some artists, like singers or musicians, will make a transition to film, and sometimes they're like, they could be one note kind of, and then I thought she was excellent. Was
that a pun?
Yeah.
Okay. I also I saw Wicked on Saturday.
Yeah.
And I also loved it, and very much like you, EJ, I remember seeing the trailers and being like, this doesn't look like it has anything for me, because I really, really love the original Wizard of Oz.
Same. Yeah.
But I was watching it, I'm like, I don't know. And then I started hearing really good buzz, and I was like, maybe I should check it out. And I loved it, and I'm so pumped.
Yeah, I'm in. I am in.
Yeah.
Some of that set designs and stuff like that, like when they go to like really, really top tier stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I agree. Ariana Grande, like, I thought she was like remarkable in that.
Yeah.
It's like she's always doing something. Do you know what I mean? Like her like deliveries are like really fun, but like she's always doing something with her body or her face, and it's just like, I don't know, man.
It's very nuanced.
It's
like,
so good.
She really brought like a stage play kind of performance to like the movie, right? Like you could almost imagine Kristen Chenoweth like doing that during like the original run, like the motions and things like that.
Yeah.
So,
it's actually almost like another layer to it. She's like a person living in life who's trying to act like she's on a stage.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
And yeah, man, I feel like if there's any justice in the world, she should probably get nominated for something. I know, like, it's like people hear that and they're like, what? But in all seriousness, I'm like,
if it's going to be the year, this is the year. Like,
Yeah.
To me, I think this is kind of like a down year for movies, and I think the playing field
Unless
is
it's horror.
open.
Horror movies are the only thing that have been really all
awesome
that great this year.
But I don't want to shortchange Cynthia Erivo either.
Yeah,
she was
because
fantastic.
she's fantastic.
Yeah.
I've been a huge fan of hers since that one movie, Drew Goddard. I think that's his name. One Night in the Valley. Do you know what I'm talking about? It had Chris Hemsworth was the bad guy in it at the old
it was like
hotel.
we saw that together.
Yeah.
With, like, Dakota Johnson's in it.
Yeah.
It's like
I've never.
It's like Fast Times at Ridgemont Royale or something.
Yeah, it's
like an awful title.
El Royale, that's it.
It's just like a very bad title.
But she is in the movie, and she's like one of the best parts of that movie.
Yeah, I would say, if anything, because I don't want to spoil the movie or anything, but the last 10 minutes of that film is just like, I had chills.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
And who knew Jeff Goldblum would be such a great wizard? He actually was awesome.
I'm hoping his career takes off after this, you know?
I got a lot of promise in this guy.
Yeah.
He might have something. And
I also saw Gladiator 2.
Oh, yeah. What did you think of Gladiator 2?
It had sharks. Sorry if that's a big spoiler. There are sharks in Gladiator 2. That's all I will say.
Is
And
it
I've got
fresh water?
questions.
What's that?
Is that fresh water in the... How'd they get fresh water?
So, much like probably in this episode of the podcast, I don't want to fall down too much of a rabbit hole. But yeah, as I was sitting in the theater and they had filled the Coliseum with presumably salt water to have this naval battle. All of this is true, by the way.
I saw it.
Okay,
Yeah.
The mind started, my imagination was captured in such a way where, like, this cannot be real, but like, historians, please don't come after me if it was. This was just insane, right? Like,
Yeah.
I had to look into this because I thought it was so insane.
Right.
They apparently did fill the Coliseum up with water. Now, I cannot find anything saying that there were sharks.
Right. They
it
had
made
like
no
a
sense,
duct
right?
system.
Yeah, because they entered through the same gate that they entered in, but somehow it was up and the boats could get through. Like,
Yeah.
It's really silly.
And correct me if I'm wrong, the Tiber, which is like it's a river, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
I have one complaint about the sharks. I mean, I always like to see sharks getting work, you know?
Right.
yeah,
Like, I like
it's
seeing
really good. Yeah, with the
Yeah.
shark, you know.
But my only thing is that, like, if you're falling into the water, it's probably because someone killed you, right?
Yeah.
They're like on the boats and they're
ravenous.
fighting.
Yeah, it was like.
But, like, if somebody, like, shoots you with an arrow or, like, you know, cuts you down with a sword, chances are you're already dead on the ship. So having the sharks in the water, a little overkill.
Right.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Makes sense? I don't know.
I really goofed when I saw the movie, though, because I was watching it, and, like, I'm a huge fan of, like, the Great British Bake Off, and the guy who's, like, the announcer for the Coliseum, I was like, wow, that guy really looks like Matt Lucas. And it was Matt Lucas, so that didn't feel good. I made a joke, and it actually ended up being the same actor. I didn't really like how that went.
Like, oh man,
I couldn't walk it
Matt
back
Lucas.
like it was out there. So,
but yeah, I definitely. So I liked it, and I did not expect to like
yeah,
this movie.
yeah, I agree.
And I was like, I came out and I'm like, I actually liked it way more than I expected because the trailers, I was not into that movie, and I thought they did a good job. They kind of like hide the fact that Denzel Washington is kind of like the main antagonist in the trailers because it looked like
in the trailers,
like,
yeah.
In the trailers, they made it look like Pedro Pascal was like
right.
the main antagonist, and then like when you're watching the movie, you're like, oh no, Denzel is like killing it. I thought he was great in this.
I will say this about this era of movies. I have completely lost my ability. Like, if this was, I could bet. Like, if there was Las Vegas gambling bets on the quality of legacy sequels, I would be awful at judging which ones I think were good or not. Like, I remember when Blade Runner, another Ridley Scott, when Blade Runner 2049 gets announced, I was like, oh no. And it was like amazing, right?
Yeah.
So like, who would have thought that which ones are good, which ones are bad, right? That like, you told me Top Gun 2 would be good, I would have laughed, and that's probably like the best one.
Yeah, that movie, Maverick's awesome.
That movie is rad.
I also saw Gladiator 2.
Yeah.
Probably not as enthused as you are, but
Yeah.
because it's a weird movie for me because it's not a good movie and it's not a bad movie. It's just sort of like if I was going to be appropriate within the realm of the film, rather than a thumbs up or a thumbs down, it's kind of like sideways.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I thought it was entertaining.
Yeah,
but
me
it
too.
is literally like a movie when I'm watching it. I'm like, why are you here?
Right, and so with a lot of the legacy sequels,
Yeah.
it's like, why does this exist? I don't know.
But this one was very loud about it because I'm just like, you're here for money and you have nothing else to bring. Because like the basic premise of the film, I'm like, I don't buy it. You know?
Right.
But like, but again, like the cast is great. The movie looks great. Ridley Scott is like in his 80s or something, and he's still awesome.
Yeah.
Just the movie itself, I was like, it took me about a day to figure out how I felt about it.
I was just happy Denzel was having fun. I don't know why I'm so invested in that. But
He
it was
is
like
the best part of the movie.
yeah, it's just like he's
His
enjoying it.
delivery of politics when he's like, and that, my friend, is politics.
Yeah.
So good. Just
Yeah, it's so good. I still say, I'm going to stand by this forever. Pompeii, the movie that with Kit Harington, is still my favorite Gladiator sequel.
just want to say, it almost felt like it's just like Gladiator 1 was nominated for an Oscar, right? Like, and this was like a popcorn film, right? So it was weird. Like, there's like dissonance there. Like, what is the aim of this movie, right? Is this a serious theatrical release?
Do you think Denzel will get a nomination for Best Supporting Actor?
I hope not.
Really?
Well, because I love him. Like, I'm like
I
a
do
big
too.
Denzel Washington fan, but
It'd
like,
be a weird thing if he won for that movie.
because it
but
is a tad bit cartoony. Like, he's so much fun to watch, but like, is it a great performance? That's when it gets a little muddy for me. I
don't know. I like
know,
it.
and trust me, here's the problem with the performance. He's wonderful in it because he's like one of the best actors ever.
Yeah.
But that one, I was like a tad bit cartoony for that world. Because I think of like Joaquin Phoenix in the first one.
Yeah.
And like that is such like a believable, grounded performance for me. And then this one, he is a little silly at times, Denzel.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
again, but in like in a stylish way. So I don't know. But no, I don't think it's like something you should deprive another actor of a nomination.
Yeah, like I said, I
There's only so
can't
many
engage
they
in
can
this
give.
exercise because I don't even know. Like with this year, right? It's
Right.
I don't know,
It's this year
again the same with Ariana Grande. If this could be the year, right?
Right. I think as far as like performances go, Conclave has like a lot of really
I've heard. I did not see that, but I did hear like it kind of has.
It's
like,
very
that
good.
momentum.
Yeah.
It's one of those movies that probably should be very boring, but it's awesome. Like it's just very exciting. And it's all just like political intrigue.
I mean, for me, it's because I'm only on the podcast once a year. I saw Dune mark the first week of March when it came out, right? And I was like, all right, that was my favorite movie, and I don't think I saw a movie better than Dune.
Still is one of my favorite
That's what I'm
movies
saying.
of the year. It's so good.
And I feel like if it came out last year because got moved,
Yeah.
it was like all those awards that were won at the Oscars this last year, they should probably like thank their lucky stars that it got moved.
Yeah.
And even this year, because it got moved to like an early spot, like it might have gotten forgotten. Like Dune 2, I think is going to be like 10 years from now. I think there's going to be a lot of interesting discourse about just that movie because I think it's really good and I think it's all set to be forgotten.
Yes. So I have a question. Did you see Moana 2?
Not yet. No. Like I said, I'm on the quest for 25.
Yeah.
Moana 2 is going to be 23, and I have tickets for Sonic 3. So that's to be 24.
Yes.
So I need one more. It's probably going to be Mufasa.
I was going to say, make it Y2K. I really want, I don't know. I just want that movie to do really well.
Okay. I know nothing about it.
You know what? Go in completely blind and just go see it. Yeah.
Do you see anything else?
Shout outs because I was really in a bind this fall because I was really falling behind.
Yeah.
Shout outs to I don't know the name of the company, which is bad, but they're doing like a Gundam movie series, and they brought back like 3 weeks in a row these old Gundam films from like the early 1980s.
Oh heck yeah!
Yeah, and I'll tell you what. American audiences were not ready for Gundam in 1979, right?
Yeah.
And just going back and watching those now, they were, even though I'm looking at movies that are older than Gremlins, right? Some of the things that they were saying and doing in those films, I could not believe how good they were. The only other thing I will say about it is that Gundam series was 50 episodes, and it really never aired in America. So what they did was they condensed them into 3 2-hour-long movies. So it is insane. Like, I cannot imagine a person who is unfamiliar with the source material watching it because characters are living and dying. Like, who's that guy? But
who's that?
But just absolutely incredible movies and things that are so topical to this day. You know, colonization and things like that. Just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Did you see anything? EJ?
Well, and basically we talked about all the stuff on my list already. How about you? Did you see Moana 2?
I did.
Your thoughts on that?
So that's a movie that was exactly what I thought it was going to be, and I don't mean that in like a bad way. It's a perfectly acceptable Disney sequel.
Okay.
You know? Like the music is like not good in the sense that like the first one had like some really, really great music from Lin-Manuel Miranda. There we
Now
go.
he's doing Mufasa. So is that a draw to Mufasa?
No.
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 Because he also did the music for The Little Mermaid, and the less said about that.
Did you hear his music for The Warriors? They made the Warriors musical.
Dude, I am so in on that. I
That's what I'm
love
saying.
that movie so much, and I think he's like perfect for something like
100%.
that. Yeah.
But yeah, I did see it. Becca and I saw it in a theater filled with a bunch of kids, so that's. I was talking about this before we started recording. Like when I'm in a theater, my worst nightmare is to get like a rude crowd who just like talks. I don't know why, but like when I'm in a theater with a bunch of excited kids who are just like reacting to the movie in like a very like whimsical way, I have so much fun. So I recommend it. It's a fun little Disney sequel. It's like definitely not as good as the first one, which I really thought was a strong Disney movie.
Yeah.
But definitely good. I'm gonna go down. What's up?
I was just gonna say really fast. My feelings were a little different. It felt like Indiana Jones Dial of Destiny for me, where it was like.
So you thought it was shit, huh? Like you thought it was.
No, it wasn't. It just was like too much action and not a lot of like substance.
Can I ask you a question? So let me ask you.
I don't know.
Let me see how you feel about this. Does it strike you? Do you remember like when Aladdin was big?
Yeah.
And then they were like, let's make a TV show.
Yes.
So it's like they had a really good episode of a TV show, and then they made a movie out of it.
So yeah, that's what they're saying. I guess
is that like a thing?
It was supposed to be a Disney Plus series.
Okay, makes
broken
sense.
into
like,
spots, and then
just terrific.
Yeah, like that's.
So then they patched it together to make it a movie.
It feels like that. It doesn't feel like there was like a strong theatrical entry.
Right.
This one felt like a TV show that got blown up into a movie, and you just confirmed.
Yeah,
that's actually
what it is.
real. Okay,
Yeah,
hey, I'm getting good at this.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I feel like it definitely wasn't as strong as the first one.
No. Nowhere near.
I think like my biggest issue is they waited too long for Maui and Moana to get together. and at the like like they don't really meet up till like maybe Act 3. That's how it feels. Like it feels very.
It's definitely late in the game. And, Maui's just sort of like he's kind of tied up for the most of the movie. But a demigod.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Aren't you excited to see it?
And their chemistry's so good that I feel like that was like a detriment to like the film itself, because they introduce all these new characters that aren't really.
Oh, they're so forgettable. What was that character that they brought in that's like the smart Australian girl who lives on the island?
So I liked, she was cool, but like the plant guy.
Did you think she was? I felt like she was just sort of.
She was like the only useful one.
Yeah.
I feel like that came on the trip.
I was more into the old man, because I'm an old man now, so I related with him.
But Rory, how about you? What did you see?
I saw so much stuff recently. Like I've been like on a streak like lately. So I'm not going to burden the audience with me talking about all of these films in depth, but I did write them down because, content. It's the name of the game, I suppose. I rewatched Home Alone 2.
Yeah.
So much fun still.
Love it.
Anybody who listens to the show knows that we never shut up about Home Alone. I watched. Well,
good, because there's a lot of connections to this very
Sure
film.
does.
Yeah.
I saw the original Scarface.
For the first time?
Yeah, the Criterion that they put out.
With Osgood Perkins.
What?
No.
From Disney's Great American Movie Ride?
Oscar Perkins is time traveling.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like Scarface, I saw that. Did you ever see Seconds with Rock Hudson?
No.
Look that up. It's from 1966. It is one of the coolest movies I've ever seen in my entire life. It's one of those like big concept movies.
Yeah.
It's like executed perfectly.
Awesome.
But yeah, so Seconds. I watched Kevin Smith's new movie, the 4:30 movie.
Oh, how was it?
It's like the best thing he's done since Clerks 2.
Okay.
Because I love Clerks 2. And then it's more in line. Well, yes, still.
Yeah.
I think Tusk.
A24 movie, right?
Yeah, Tusk is a lot of fun.
What about Red State?
It's still a lot of fun, but like this one, what's cool about Red State was that I felt
mission accomplished.
We fucked you up.
What I felt was cool about Red State was that was more him getting back into his indie roots.
Yeah, for sure, 100%.
Which is great. But
like distribution thing, which was cool.
Yeah, but this one is more like he had something to say. So it was like something from like just something that probably occurred when he was a child.
And the whole movie takes place at some place we're familiar with.
Oh yeah, the place where they showed the movie we made.
Yeah.
Like that's cool. Yeah.
Awesome. So
they very well could have been filming in the theater where I watched my movie play, which is kind of wild.
That's so weird.
But I also watched The Samurai. It's a Criterion movie. Did you ever see that?
Just The Samurai?
It's called The Samurai.
No.
It's right. It's actually some French pronunciation. It's like Le Samurai.
Samurai.
I
nailed it. That's got it. It's got to be what it
that's
is.
That's the right accent for sure.
Le Samurai.
And then just again, we already talked about this movie, but in preparation for Gladiator 2, I watched Gladiator. Still holds up. Lots of fun.
Notice that you were the person who was wishy-washy on Gladiator 2, and you watched Gladiator 1 beforehand. Us two idiots. We not. Oh, the sharks! Yeah.
There's sharks in this.
I hadn't seen Gladiator in a long time, so I was like, I should freshen up on it, and thought it was a lot of fun.
That probably ruined Gladiator.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Probably. That's probably why your standards are probably just real low.
I remember driving on the highway up to see the movie, thinking to myself, I hope this is like a fresh sequel and doesn't connect to the original, because I don't remember the original at all. And then I'm like 15 minutes into this movie, I was like, uh-oh.
This is all a lot about the original.
And they had a giant shoehorn to get it all in there.
There's a lot of original stuff in here.
I saw, we were talking about this, Moana 2. For Thanksgiving, I revisited one of my all-time favorite films, possibly top 2 favorite films of all time, which is American Movie.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. Oh, you saw that before?
Oh, my God, yeah.
One of my favorite films ever.
Yeah.
They put it out on 4K recently, and I was so excited to revisit it for the 1 millionth time.
I would say that's probably maybe my favorite documentary of all time.
It is my favorite for sure.
It is such a good movie.
It's beautiful and like funny, and you'd swear some of the comedy was scripted with how good it is. If anybody here listening has not seen American Movie, please watch American movie because you'll thank me. You'll stop throwing trash at me when you see me in the streets, and you'll just say, "Hey, thanks for the heads up."
It's one of the funniest, but also like heartwarming.
There's an authenticity to that movie that I don't think is like replicated. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's also like that the way it ends when they just show all that footage of Mark and his friends when they're like children, and then Mike Shank is playing Mr. Bojangles on the guitar, and it's beautiful sounding.
Yeah.
Like he was such a good guitar player.
He's
like,
a very
rest in
talented
peace,
dude.
Mike Shank. But true story about that movie. When I was figuring out how to write correctly, like screenwriting, I used to just watch that movie. That movie was always playing in the background. Like I have no idea how many times I've seen it, but whenever I need to get the creative juices going, that I pop that in Ed Wood. But I'm not here to talk about that. I watched The Irishman again.
I still have to watch it.
I know you do, you bastard. I watched it all in one sitting. It's like 3.5 hours of my life, and it's awesome. I watched Naked Lunch for the first time. I promise we're almost through my list.
I like that. I like Naked Lunch.
Naked Lunch was a lot of fun. If you haven't seen it, it's a great Cronenberg movie. Being John Malkovich.
Oh yeah,
really like that movie.
Yeah, good time. We already gushed over Wicked, so guess what, America? We're not doing that again.
See,
Wicked was so good.
But Wicked was
I
so
loved
good.
it so much. No, Wicked was great. Moana, blah blah blah. Beatles '64, the Martin Scorsese produced
how is
doc.
that? Is
Oh,
it
it's
good?
awesome. If there's like Beatles content out there, like I get so excited. I loved his documentary on. Did you ever see the George Harrison documentary that he did?
I've not. No.
It's like called like Living in the Material World. Look that up.
That's not about Madonna.
It is.
Oh.
I think it's called Living in the Material World or something like that.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. Look it up, America. And then the only other thing I wanted to talk about today, and it's funny because you set me up and you didn't realize it earlier before we started recording.
That's why I'm here.
I got to go to my first press screening.
Okay.
For a movie.
Very
I got
cool.
to see Nosferatu.
Oh heck yeah!
I know you're.
I feel like you should share your Nosferatu story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was really cool. Like a friend of the show, Dave Gonzalez, got me into like a press screening. It was at the Universal Studios New York City office. Okay. So like Dave messaged me and he's just like, hey, he's like, can you be at my apartment 4:00 on Wednesday? And I'm like, why? He's like, well, I got into this press screening for Nosferatu, and I'm like, I'll see you at 3:30 because I was like so excited. And I shot down there because that was my movie that I was the most looking forward to for the year.
Now, if you just signed an NDA, I don't want to say, I don't want to hear anything because the movie's obviously not out, right?
Yeah,
but
right.
Like,
it's one of those things I can't really like review it yet because I think there's actually like an embargo on it still.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But anyway, I just I went to the offices and they bring you into this little lobby. You sit there for a couple minutes and they brought us into this like private screening room. It's like probably like 50 seats.
Oh, okay.
And I'm literally in there with like all these like New York City critics, and then there's just like me. It's just like
whoa.
Which column do you write for? Freakquels. You hear that, Clayton? I guess they just let anyone in here. But it was cool because there was no trailers or anything. Like they just like put the movie on, and it was such an awesome experience, you know. And I'm just saying this. What's up?
I remember bombing you with questions like, did you get snacks? Where's their popcorn?
Yeah, those are all EJ's insightful questions. He's like, wow, did they have like seats? I was like, yeah, they let me sit down. Because there's this other theater where they just make you stand and watch the movie. Yeah, it's free. But no.
Don't see The Irishman in that theater.
Not in that theater. But the movie itself, I won't, again, I can't really like say much other than my initial feelings, which was like, you know, it was everything I wanted it to be and more. And the only thing I'll say is that El Snow, if you're listening right now, Christmas Day, get up and go see that movie because it's a movie made for you. And if you hate it, just don't talk to me ever again because I don't really like when people have other opinions.
Right.
Yeah.
Should I watch the original Nosferatu before seeing this one?
It helps.
You know what, man? Just for your own. You don't need to see it, but just if you haven't seen it, it's awesome. Yeah,
I love
that German expressionism. And also the
Herzog.
The Herzog from the 70s. Like that movie's awesome. Klaus Kinski, Werner Herzog. Yeah, that movie's awesome. It's like weird though when you see, it's like not Jonathan Harker, but it's, you know, legally cleared name because we couldn't call him Jonathan Harker.
Yeah.
But he's like sitting there with the Nosferatu and the Klaus Kinski one.
Oh, okay.
And I was watching it recently, and I'm like, it's just like clearly a monster. Right. And he's just like sitting there going over contracts with them.
He's the best solicitor in town.
I'm like, I would just be like shrieking or something. Anyway,
Chris Estrad. We want to play Chris Estrad.
Yeah. Oh
yeah,
my
man.
God. Yeah.
Let's finish the game right now.
Let's do it.
But yeah, that's everything I saw. I'm sorry for putting you through that, but I was really excited because I watched a lot of movies in like a very short amount of time.
I skipped one.
Oh Jesus!
It was Red One. I went to see it.
So I was actually going to pose that question to the audience here. Did you actually see Red One?
Yeah, I saw it, and it was better than I thought it was going to be.
You were the second person today that I heard say that exact thing, that Red
Yeah.
One was better. Now, I don't believe you. Like, that's not going to move the needle on me seeing it. But good for Red One, right?
Yeah,
Like,
good
just
for Red One.
Good for Red One.
And when I went to see it, the theater was packed.
Empty. Oh.
It was packed. And I was like, why is
the
Red
people
One...
have spoken.
Yeah,
Red
like,
One.
What is going on? But
It's the
I
new
enjoyed
Titanic.
it. Yeah. But let's talk about the movie that we're all here to see and talk about today, which is
What's the movie?
Gremlins.
What?
From 1980.
4.
Oh my God. And
Good
this,
year for movies.
This was
Good day for movies.
Yeah.
So, obviously, Christmas movie. Releases, of course, June 8th, 1984.
Appropriately so.
Do you know another movie came out on June 8th, 1984?
Was it Ghostbusters?
It was Ghostbusters.
Wow.
So
what
as
a
people who just
day.
worked within the movie theater industry, I was thinking about this when I saw that, right?
Yeah.
Like, I've been working in a movie theater industry for 10 years. And I know from 10 years ago the amount of logistics that went into coordinating like wide release movies, right? So that you don't have movies step on the toes of other movies, right? And I'm sure it's gotten even more so now. To think that these two movies came out on the same day is mind-boggling to me.
Yeah.
Because they're like two of the greatest movies
that
ever. But I know
probably,
maybe
like,
not for you.
produced more
They were
merchandise?
Yeah.
Like
Both
it's
successful
insane.
in the year and then, as like legacy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
Wow. I did not know that. That's insane.
And I did see that like in the early 1980s there was like a rush of like horror comedy. Like that was a very in vogue style of movie. And it's interesting that probably the two best or most remembered horror comedies came out on the same day.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. So it's almost like Barbenheimer, but it was like
Ghostbusters.
How about Slimer and Slizmo?
Sleazemo.
Sleazemo. We should write a movie
Called
with a character
Sleazemo?
called Sleazemo. Like he starts off pretty sweet and then he becomes like
No, he's always sleazy.
Yeah,
Oh,
he's
so like
always sleazy.
Gizmo.
yeah, exactly.
Sleazemo starts off sleazy and he stays sleazy.
Why don't
The
I
movie,
thing.
the tagline for the film is "He's exactly the way you think he is." It's like that Pieces poster. Did you ever see that?
Yeah.
The movie Pieces. The tagline is "That's exactly what you think it is."
Well, I don't know about you guys, but I'm so excited to talk about Gremlins.
Yeah. So this is the first time you watched it in what you said, like 30 years?
Yeah, probably 30 years.
Yeah.
I probably, went back to it after 30 years. I probably saw it on TV too. So,
Yeah.
again, I don't know if we should share this. I guess it's fair to share now, but a lot of people cite that this movie is the reason that PG-13 exists.
One of them.
One
It's
of
like
them.
that
And
and
Indiana
Temple
Jones,
of Doom.
both. Yep, exactly. That those were the two. But like, so yeah, and I can see why they would say that, but
Yeah.
It's a very violent
right.
kids
So
movie.
so I probably saw this on TV that probably had some kind of TV edit. So this probably is the first time that I've seen this movie in that original weird. I can't imagine this being a PG movie. And yet here we
it's
are.
like flirting with an R.
Yeah, at times, yeah.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, no, and so it's also its 40th anniversary.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
Sent you some merch
Crazy.
earlier.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you did. He sent me some new era merch
Ooh.
of Gremlins. I was like, that's insane.
Shit.
Yeah.
Dang.
But so yeah, this is your first time visiting it within like 30 years, and so you just didn't
Well,
I mean, like, we could go into...
Yeah, let's
how
get
you
into
feel
it.
about it? Yeah, we'll get to
let's
that.
get into
Yeah, I was going to say, do you want to talk about how you came across Gremlins originally?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like I said, when
Yeah.
my first exposure to Gremlins was through the Gremlins 2 NES game.
Yeah.
That
Nice.
just, I can't even tell you where that came about, but which is funny because that's 30 years now too. Going back to even what I like today, I like brutally hard video games, right?
Right.
And even as a kid, I just like running face first into a wall, and boy, was that game like that. So I enjoyed that, and that's how I kind of sought out the rest of the series.
Yeah.
One thing about the video game, I challenge you, America, go on YouTube and look it up. Listen to the music. I think it's maybe better than some of the music in the 2 movies.
Wow,
The
really?
music
Yeah,
in the
I
game,
agree,
it's
yeah.
still in my
Go
head.
ahead. Yeah, it's good. And it really captured like the Gremlins as like because video games, very Mega Man, right? You beat a level, you fight a boss. So there were like boss Gremlins, and they were like better realized than like the Gremlins, especially in 2, but like in both movies.
And
wow.
I remember getting pretty confident in the game because I played it so much, and I got to the electricity gremlin.
Yes, that's the wall for sure.
Yeah, and just like I think I aged 10 years just playing that game. Hey, before we start talking about it, you said it was like 30 years since you'd seen it last time. Mine was about 30 seconds. This is a fun fact. In my apartment, I actually have like the original Gremlins poster
Okay.
right alongside the original Ghostbusters poster.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
So we're gonna tie that shit together. No one at home cares about that,
Wow.
but I'm bringing it up. It's a fact in my life.
Seriously, what would the tagline like? Oh, man, that's insane. What was the tagline for Gremlins? It was
It's sleazier than you think it is.
Keep it sleazy. No,
Keeping it sleazy. Kingston Falls.
No,
I
that's
got it here. I have it on the wiki. The poster says, "Cute, clever, mischievous, intelligent, dangerous." Just great. Just really, really well thought out.
tagline.
We're gonna see a lot of that level of brain power for.
Wasn't that young Vince's dating profile?
Yeah. Actually, from now on, we should just make that. Anyone who has a dating profile, we should be like, yo, you know what? I have a couple things you should add.
Ross Jones, hello.
Yeah. We'll just hook Ross up.
Yeah,
with,
we're gonna
intelligent, cute,
dangerous.
dangerous.
That's but anyway.
Should I keep that, guys?
Yeah, roll with it.
All right, so yeah, let's get into the breakdown. So the film starts with Rand Peltzer, who is looking for a gift for his kid.
And I already have to
Yeah,
interrupt you.
I am ready to jump down your throat.
I have one thing I have to throw in here. So talking about this being a kids movie,
Right.
The movie literally starts off and there's a sailor taking a prostitute into an alley.
What is going on at the start of this movie? Like, I'm sorry. Like, we're not in the shop yet. We're not in the shop. I understand that this is supposed to take place in Chinatown.
Yeah.
Why does it have to start with like this like noir? It's like, my name is Rand Peltzer. It was a dark and stormy night. Place of mystery, you know. It was like Sin City. It was like, like just crazy.
First time I saw the Mogwai, it was a real tall glass of water.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's like
One dangerous dame.
I do not understand why this movie started this way. You'll see over the course of this episode, the father is the most frustrating character in the movie. Like, just
By far.
yeah. Like, he's kind of like Hannibal Lecter in a way that he's only in the movie for, 10 minutes?
Yeah.
And it is such an impactful 10 minutes.
He throws a grenade into his family's home and then he leaves.
Right, yeah, just... but do not say where he goes, because I want to talk, we will get there.
We'll get there.
We'll get there. But he literally is responsible for destroying a whole town, which we'll get to. But and then he just
bears
comes
no
back
responsibility.
and takes no responsibility.
Just like rubbing the back of his
He's like, oh man, I'm out $200.
Hope no one blames me.
So
This is my new blameless ashtray.
So he's literally doing a Sunset Boulevard monologue, and then...
Yeah, and so he eventually meets this random kid off the street who brings Rand to his grandfather's shop. And Rand then tries to pitch one of his inventions called the Bathroom Buddy.
Which is kind of cool.
Yeah, it's like a Swiss Army knife, but
For toiletries?
For toiletries, yeah.
I'm just saying, it's kind of cool.
It is kind of cool.
Yeah.
I gotta say, obviously it's a movie for its time. Not crazy about this, right? There's a
feel
lot
like I know where you're
There's a
going.
lot of xenophobia here, right? But
Yeah.
I don't even want to give it the pass. It's not great. There's a lot of xenophobia in this movie overall, but there's a part when he's pitching the sale and he says, "Do you have a bad case of dragon breath?"
And then you hear
Yeah.
it
I was
gong.
I was like, ugh, So
That's where you got the ugh, because
Yeah.
I would have went with the bad case of dragon breath, and then you hear a gong go off.
Oh yeah, it's
You're just like, whoops.
we're off to kind of I get that they want the mythology of like the Mogwai, but you always kind of run that risk where it's like, oh, these other cultures, they're still, look how weird it is, right?
Yeah,
It's just like,
exactly.
not
Well,
great.
to be fair though, the shopkeeper, whatever his ethnic background is a weird guy.
Yes.
So it's okay. Like the shop is filled with weird
shop is
shit
weird,
because he's
right.
got a shop of curiosities.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I give him a pass.
Are you saying that because he has like one weird eye? That's why he's a weird guy.
Kato?
It's true. Yeah. It's just like there's like weird shit hanging from the ceiling and
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like has like every like Chinese stereotype you could possibly imagine it's not really a curious shop, it's a shop of stereotypes.
Yeah.
That's actually what the shop's called.
Yeah.
But
Mr. Wong's cabinet of stereotypes.
yeah. So as he's pitching this, Rand gets distracted by a unique singing voice that he hears coming from this cage, and it turns out it's a Mogwai. And so Rand tries to buy it for $200, but the grandfather refuses. He's like, no, it's not for sale. It's not for sale.
I was really wishing that the Mogwai would do like some death metal. That's
Yeah.
kind of what I was hoping. Like Randy would put in like a quarter and do it.
No
it's like
more.
a jukebox.
Yeah, that would be.
He's like, yo, can you play some like early Metallica?
Do you know Ozzy Osbourne? So the grandson sneaks out Gizmo and he sells it to Rand.
Because he says like, absolutely no way that I'm selling this thing.
Yes.
After a really weird haggling. It was very
Right.
bizarre.
It's like $200, and he's like, no, not for sale.
Well, like maybe don't have him out front then.
Well, yeah, I mean,
With everything else that's for sale, it's very confusing. He's like, I'll give you $200 for this. He's like, oh, it's not for sale, but it's on the sales floor.
well, like he doesn't even ask, like,
Yeah.
is it venomous or like, he doesn't ask like all the questions about it. He's just like, I'm gonna buy that for my son.
Right, yeah.
I'm not gonna lie to you though.
So I will say
ahead.
I did not know how old his son was. I thought it was like going to be like a younger kid, right? No.
Yeah.
I'm buying this for my 40-year-old
Right.
son.
So, yeah. But I don't know. Like to me, I want to go into a little bit more later. But this haggling creates a theme of this movie, a leitmotif, if you will, of like an instance happening on the screen and the characters reacting to it in like bizarro worlds, right?
Yeah.
Like an event will unfold and their response is like literally the opposite of what normal human beings would do in that situation.
Yes. Yeah, so this kid, he sells the Mogwai, and he's like, oh, first, and we get this kind of in a funny kind of voiceover. He's like, there's 3 rules. No bright lights, because it could actually kill the Mogwai. Don't get it wet, and don't feed it after midnight. But he doesn't specify the time zone. But
That is a question.
that is a question.
Must be after midnight somewhere.
Somewhere.
Is that in 2?
Really?
Yeah, do you remember they're like talking
Damn,
about it in
I
2?
thought that's...
He's like, do you remember that?
No.
They're all like, literally, part 2.
Yeah.
Quick little thing. They couldn't figure out what to do with it. So initially, like, Joe Dante wasn't going to come back to do it, and they were trying to just like make Gremlin sequel, but they couldn't crack the formula. So they brought him back and said, take all this money and just make whatever. And they didn't put any like guardrails up.
Yeah.
They were just kind of like, yeah, he'll be fine. And the whole movie is deconstructing the first movie.
Yes, that is 100% true.
And then they just make fun of it.
Yeah, that's why I think I like the second
it's
one more.
It has to
I
be
do
after
too.
midnight somewhere. Right. And then like the thing blasts out of the control thing and kills him, which
Yes.
is
Nice job,
wonderful.
Chris.
Yeah. So we now cut over to Kingston Falls. It's a nice snowy town with a lot of holiday cheer.
Did anyone notice when the credits start, this young boy absolutely lights this girl up with a snowball?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
like right off the rip. Like, I don't even think the logo is up yet. She comes up behind her. She has no idea what's coming. It like I feel weird talking about it, but like I was like, oh my god.
Yeah. He like hits her right
Square
in
the head?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then she gets up and she like pushes him and he's like, oh, he like overacts, which
But
we
you-
see a little bit.
But
in
you
this,
get distracted by the cheery music.
Yeah, you do. And
Which I love. I love the look of Kingston Falls. That's what it's called.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love the look of the town. I guess it's the Back to the Future lot.
Yeah, the Universal backlot. Yeah.
But it's like it just has this thing. The entire movie does. You feel like it actually is December.
You
in a small
immediately know
town.
you're in a Christopher
Yeah.
Columbus movie.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
He's
Yeah.
very good at creating that holiday.
So I have a
feeling.
non-Gremlins related thing. So it's like when I saw the scene and saw like the Christmas aspect of it, right?
Yeah.
I immediately stopped because I ask this question all the time, and I Googled how old was Shane Black when this movie came out.
Yeah.
And he was 23. So
Okay.
Shane, if you're out there, I wonder if this movie made a lasting impression on you, because who makes more Christmas movies? Truly, or I should say, movies set during Christmas that are not about Christmas. Christopher Columbus or Shane Black.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And have
No,
they ever worked
really
together?
both
Because
do.
I don't know, right? But like,
Yeah, they should work together
Right.
on something.
I'm
obviously.
gonna blow your mind. They're actually the same
person.
guy.
Yeah.
well, he's like, Chris, we can't keep cutting you these checks for these Christmas movies. Oh, I know someone. What's his name? Black.
He's like looking around the room.
Shane. You see, he's like a shaver. He's like Shane Black.
So even though Christopher Columbus did not direct this movie, like, lock, stop, you are in a Christopher Columbus movie.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
And you know what?
Yeah.
I feel safe in there.
Yeah, that's a good.
Yeah.
I feel like that town has like a warmth to it.
Wholesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, got bad news for you.
I know. I'm so excited. Hey, just putting this up front. This is one of my all-time favorite films.
Yes.
So
yeah.
I might gush a little bit more than the rest of you cats.
No, I love this movie too. So, anyways, we meet Billy Peltzer, Rand's son, who is having some car trouble, and that's when his neighbor, Mr. Futterman, comes out, and instead of helping him or like trying to like jump his car for him, he just takes the time to complain about foreign cars and foreign vehicles, and it's weird. Growing up, I always liked Mr. Futterman, and then like rewatching it for the first time in a while, I'm like, Mr. Futterman,
Yeah.
I'm going to play devil's advocate.
yeah,
They
That's
strongly
offensive Futterman here.
they tell you that he was in a war and he seems deeply affected by it.
Oh,
So he is a product
100%.
of a different time.
yeah, he is a product,
But
of a
not
different
not
time.
Vietnam, which that's usually associated
Yeah,
with.
it's
like,
World War II.
Yeah.
And there is a part later, not to jump ahead, but he
Yeah.
does make comments about the Europeans, which last time I checked, many of those countries were allied with him. So he
just
just
doesn't
seems
like
like he might be a
anybody.
little hateful guy. That's
There's a one thing going for him though, is that it's Dick Miller.
He is awesome.
Amazing.
He is a great actor. I'm such a huge
Me
fan
too.
of him.
I made eye contact with him once.
Really?
Yeah, he was at a Monster Mania.
Yeah.
And we looked at each other and he could sense my love.
Yeah, I
And
bet
was
he
like,
did.
I'm like, here's my hotel key. No, I didn't say that.
But he's great. And in the second movie, he's definitely way better. Like, I feel like they use him better in the second movie. So
was he,
anyways,
when you met him, was he driving his like forklift car apparatus?
No, I wish. That's it. That I actually got photos with him. I just think he drive this giant truck into the back. No, actually, when I met him, he was definitely nearing the end.
oh,
So
okay,
like
yeah.
he was like much older at this point, and he's got this giant line that he looked overwhelmed by, which made me feel like trash. So, but no, Dick Miller is a legend. You look him up.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
absolutely.
EJ Leeson, I will not let you blow by something. I'm sorry. Yes, we do meet Mr. Zach Galligan, Billy Peltzer, but we also meet Barney.
Oh, I was just gonna bring
Such
up.
a
Okay,
critical
thank
character
you.
for this, yeah.
He's a
Barney's the
wonderful.
best,
He
yeah.
is. This is probably the best dog acting I've seen in any movie ever, because he's really good. He reacts to everything as if it's actually happening.
Yeah.
And I did some research on him. I'm not saying this to be funny. This is real.
Okay,
his
let's
name,
hear some Barney facts.
He's played by Mushroom.
Oh.
Okay.
That's it.
That's all you got?
Yeah, but he actually has a real name, and it's Mushroom. And if you would like to write to him, he will send you a little 8x10 with a paw print on it.
Oh, and
He's sending that in 2024.
He is.
Wow.
Yeah. He's older now.
Yeah.
He's in like a little dog wheelchair.
Right.
But he does have enough energy to put his little paw on an 8x10.
I mean, with all the residuals from Gremlins, he really.
Yeah, they've been able to keep him going strong.
Yeah.
He also has a really good diet, from what I understand. But we don't have to keep talking about Barney the Woof Woof.
He does a lot of Instagram workout videos. So Billy runs to work, which
Passing the marquee. Did you see it?
And a Burger King.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Burger
And a
King,
Burger King.
which I'm sure we've seen in
awesome.
another movie. The marquee with the names of the movies. It says A Boy's Life.
Oh,
and
I saw. I was
going
going
to
to write this down. I did. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like the original names for E.T. and Close Encounters, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Spielberg love right there.
Oh, yeah. And so Billy runs to work, which is his local bank, and takes his dog Barney with him. And Kate, Billy's coworker, is asking him to sign a petition to save Dory's pub because Mrs. Deagle is trying to take his lease away. Then we meet Mrs. Deagle, and I actually love the man's reaction after greeting Mrs. Deagle.
I already have
Okay,
notes.
yeah, I want to talk about this too.
The way he says, "Oh,
Yes.
is amazing."
Amazing.
Yeah.
I don't want to cut you off too much but there is more that I want to talk about this guy. But we could go on a little bit more about Mrs. Deagle.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
before we pass it, though, I do like the delivery of "Good morning, Mrs. Deagle.
What's good about it?
Go."
Now, are you talking about the bank manager?
Not the bank manager.
Just the
There's
guy
like
behind him.
There's a guy like when Mrs. Deagle's like storming
down
towards
the
the
street.
bank.
Yeah.
This guy just is trying to exchange a pleasantry with
Right,
her.
right.
It's just like, "Good morning, Mrs. Deagle.
And she's like,
God, I hope
"What's
you
good
learn-
about it?" And he
Go."
goes, "Whoa!"
He turns into Goofy.
Yeah,
he's
he-
like, "Gorge."
Yeah, and then he actually brings his hand and covers his
Yeah,
mouth.
it's
like,
amazing.
Yeah,
That's the most offensive thing I've ever heard in 1984.
it's a very small thing.
It's a very small moment.
We kind of talked over it really quickly, but Phoebe Cates' character is trying to get signatures to make the place a landmark, a pub.
Yeah,
And,
Dory's pub.
And
yeah.
Billy says something like, "We were all conceived there," or something like that. Like it was like, wow, what a weird way to get landmark status.
Yeah,
did-
my parents met there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
She's like, my father proposed to my mother there, and she's like, "Yeah, everyone's
yeah,
parents
half the town or something. Like that.
Yeah. I like your version of it better, though. we were all conceived in the bathroom of Dory's.
Right, exactly. We wouldn't exist if it wasn't for Dory's pub. Oh, you mean like it was good for the?
Hey, hurry up in there! I gotta go.
I gotta conceive a child.
I got a child on the ready.
So since we just met Kate, I want to say that Phoebe Cates was casted for this movie, obviously, and there was a
Yeah.
little bit of controversy for her casting.
Really?
Yes, because
of
this was
Fast
aimed to
Times?
be a kids' movie. She kind of had a reputation of being a risque actor, so there was a little bit of thought that went into, should we bring her on board and stuff like that.
Wow,
So-
that's so crazy.
Oh boy, if they didn't go with her, that would have been a huge detriment to the movie. 'Cause
I agree.
I think
Yeah.
I they have
agree.
like really subtle, good chemistry. The two of them.
Yes, I think she's just a good
Awesome.
actress.
I
Yeah.
love Phoebe
Yeah,
Cates.
She has,
Like
some
everybody
great-
across the board. If you ever talk to people and you're like, "Do you like Willem Dafoe?" They're like, "I love Willem Dafoe." You're like,
Yeah.
"Do you like Phoebe Cates?" I love Phoebe Cates. She's just one of
Yeah.
those like safe actresses.
She's always awesome and everything.
Hey, one weird observation though: when Mrs. Deagle storms into the bank, Dick Miller is like standing outside the bank for
I
no
was gonna
reason.
bring that up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I never know. Like, I don't know what it is about this podcast, but I guess I pay like closer attention than I normally do when I watch a movie. I don't know.
I can explain to you what happened. I know what happened to you.
Yeah.
So like we grew up on the VHS era.
Oh.
So like the cropping probably had him
the full
some-
screen
yeah, like they
versus
put the
widescreen.
pan
Yeah,
scan.
yeah.
They probably had
Yeah.
him somewhat removed or like to the point where you wouldn't notice him. But in wide, like that proper aspect ratio, you're like, why is Dick Miller just
Yeah.
skulking around the bank?
He has like no line. He's just
just there,
no
yeah.
lines at all. He's just like
And he teleported there apparently.
I felt that way.
Yeah.
I felt that way a lot about some of this movie, where there'd be just people standing around and like just like engaged in like whatever, like just I don't know. It's just hard to explain, but like we'll see it because you were talking about the guy she passed on the way in. I wanted to call attention to a guy that is with her when she's in the bank, particularly when she's going over the ways in which she wants to kill Barney the dog.
Yeah.
That'll do it.
Again, to kind of go into like characters behave like in Bizarro world. There's a guy behind her and he's like, that's good. Yeah, like it's like you're talking about murdering a dog and he's like really into it.
She's like, I'll put him in my dryer and put it on high heat.
Oh yeah,
That'll do it.
That'll do it.
He's just like very nonchalant about killing the cutest dog ever.
Yeah, Mrs. Deagle arrives and she cusses Billy out.
Wait. I'm sorry. I don't mean to keep cutting you off.
It's okay.
But Mrs. Deagle on the way into the bank passes this mother with these two kids.
Oh, yeah.
And, basically...
Oh my God, yes.
And it's so harsh. But, like, when the kids are walking away, it's the saddest thing. And there's never any point to go back to them to show that they're okay or that things worked out for them. But the kid's walking away. She's like, I'm hungry. And then the other kid has, like, a whooping cough. She basically are like, we just need like an extension or something on our loan. She's like, nope. Oh, my husband's out of work. She's just like, well, now we know what to wish for Christmas.
Yeah.
I said this before we went on the air, but I am infinitely more invested in the side stories of Kingston Falls than I am any kind of Gremlin related. That if they wanted to bring the show back and just call it like Kingston Falls, I am there.
Yeah.
We should make that show.
That's good.
We should push that.
Yeah.
Kingston Falls is a good name.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
That would be way...
You saw the story of the Mogwai, but what you didn't see was the wreckage of Mrs. Deagle.
Yeah, it's like, Stripe, get the hell out of here. You're cutting into Deagle time.
We need some more Deagle in this.
Or what if Mrs. Deagle doesn't meet the wonderful end that she does meet, and she actually teams up with Stripe?
Oh.
Finds a way to profit off
That's
it?
something, yeah.
Yeah, she's like, I like your...
Like a real Deep Space Nine kind of situation.
I like the cut of your jib. Let's work together. So Mrs. Deagle arrives and cusses Billy out because his dog Barney broke her imported Bavarian snowman.
Bavarian snowman.
She doesn't want money, but Barney himself to put into a kennel or worse. And we mentioned how that one guy is just like
really into it.
Yeah. But Barney then jumps out and destroys the rest of the snowman that she has. Like she carries like the head of it into the bank, and then he mounts Mrs. Deagle, and he's like kind of like gnawing at her arm a little bit. And first off, Judge Reinhold shows up, and he rules. I love Judge Reinhold.
Oh my God.
And
talking cable,
and especially when he plays like a suck up or like some kind of like. Yeah, I just love him in this movie. But we see the bank manager and Deagle, they all scold Billy for having Barney at work. So the end...
And to be fair, Barney should not be at work.
He should not be
this
there.
This is really going to set up a precedent of Billy... Really,
why did he take him?
It's with his family. Like, there's a lot of issues that are his fault, right? Like that like rest fully on his shoulders.
She even points out, I know Judge Reinhold points out, like, you are basically supporting your family.
Yeah, I think it's sort of one of those things to set up Billy's character. Because you're like, he's kind of like depicted as I'm helping my family keep above the water,
Yeah.
And then he's literally there just to be like, you got to get your life together. Look at me. And in like a year, I'm going to be running the bank.
I'll be a billionaire.
Yeah. Hey, Kate, have you seen my apartment? I got cable TV.
Yeah, at Dory's Pub, where he runs into John Reinhold or Gerald.
But not before he runs into Chuck Jones.
Chuck Jones,
the cartoonist, is the guy that he's talking to when he's like drawing.
Oh, is it?
He's like,
really?
oh, it looks pretty good, Billy.
You could be a real little Abner. And it's like, those aren't even in the...
I didn't even know that.
Yeah,
I didn't know that was Chuck Jones. That's crazy. But yeah, he runs into Gerald, who tells Billy his like life plans. He's like, yeah, I'm 23 and I'm VP right now. Amazing. At 25, I hope to take, our boss's job. And by 30, I'll be a millionaire.
I wish his boss was behind him. He's like, what?
Yeah, he's got a real American Psycho like plan, right? Even has the same suit, right? It's just like
yeah, he basically.
Hey Billy,
does.
do you like
VP,
Huey
he has
Lewis
the
in the
same
news?
title as Patrick Bateman. Like,
and the reason we don't see him out is so he's only in this one scene.
Let's see Billy Pelcher's card.
yeah. So yeah.
Pelcher's card.
Right.
I have to return some videotapes.
Let's see
why we
brand
don't see him
Peltzers.
ever again.
Yeah, he's gone because he's
Right.
I'm not gonna lie, because again, I had said I had not seen this movie in a long time. So
Yeah.
last time I saw it, I was in single digit in age, so I don't know anything about any actors. So I
Yeah.
see Judge Reinhold. I'm
Yeah.
like, hell yeah, this guy's gonna carry this movie. Lo and behold.
So this is the one scene he's in.
Yeah.
But yeah, then he tries to kind of like steal a date with like Kate, right? And he's like, "Hey, why don't you come over to my new apartment?" She's like, "I didn't even see your old one." And
Yeah, he's like, you didn't
After
see my
insult-
new apartment. She's like, I didn't see your old one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
after insulting her too, because she reveals that she's working at Dory's for free.
for basically nothing.
And classic white guy can't just handle this and immediately has to like have an opinion on it.
Right.
He's just basically like a smug wannabe yuppie.
Yeah.
If Gerald was alive in 2024, he would be into cryptocurrency.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, he definitely would be. I like his life plan. It reminds me of Coming to America with like Louis Anderson. He's like, first I started out here, then I worked up to the fryer. Now I'm working on the grill, and one day I hope to be the manager. But yeah, he hits on Kate, and she shoots him down, probably because he was caught moving in stereo.
Yep. Brilliant.
Yeah, thanks. Sick reference to Fast Times. But anyways, at home, Mr.
I like when Phoebe Cates just being a good actress. I don't know if this was like a choice from her or if it was like the director told her to do this.
Yeah.
But when Judge Reinhold is shamefully hitting on her, she's like very obviously into Billy, and she does this little thing where she picks something off of his coat.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I don't know. It's like a really nice little detail. They're showing that she's into him.
You know, I just had a thought just now that, you know, we currently live in 2024 cinema hell.
Yeah.
Like, if Gremlins came out today, seriously, and like Judge Reinhold and Phoebe Cates were in like the scene together, you know, right after Fast Times.
Yeah.
This would be like your Deadpool Wolverine, like, let's hold for audience applause. Or, the cameos,
Yeah.
right? And it's just like,
Yeah.
nothing here, right? But like, just because shows how self-serving we've become.
Hold for Phoebe.
Hold for Phoebe. At home, Mrs. Peltzer is watching It's a Wonderful Life and prepping dinner when Billy arrives to help her out, quote unquote.
And they do a wonderful thing that movies don't do as much anymore. It's called set up and payoff.
Yeah.
I love when Billy comes to the door and the sword falls off the wall, and it keeps happening, and that sword comes into play later.
Yes.
But
yeah.
Does it ever.
Yeah, and it's awesome. But like it isn't just like, again, talking about movies made in 2024. They would just do that now. But they keep showing you, they get that fucking sword into your head, and it's just it's cool.
It was the early 80s, right? So people just had swords on their walls all over the place, right?
Yeah, I guess you have to wonder
absolutely.
why they're there.
Yes.
Exactly.
Right.
It's a Rand thing.
Yeah,
But
Randy's like real into that.
Rand gets home, and well, first we see Billy kind of trying to help his mom make dinner, and he's using the father's inventions.
products, yeah.
And they're all, you know, kind of not good at what they're supposed to do. Right? And every single invention kind of sucks. The only one that seems like it mostly works is probably the shower buddy. Right?
Oh, the bathroom buddy, yeah.
Or bathroom buddy, yeah.
We understand why Billy is working at a bank to help support his family.
Yeah,
Right.
Because
Yeah.
like, but it's funny though, because like his father's ideas for the early '80s, not too shabby.
No, not too shabby.
Like they're cool. Like that coffee machine that he has, it turns everything
drip.
into like oil.
Yeah.
I did write down here in my notes that I feel like, not that I'm trying to give career advice to Rand Peltzer, but like he needs to pick something one at a time. He's got his
Right.
hand in too many pies.
Pick a
here, right?
lane.
Yeah. It's like maybe,
Yeah.
you know, finish one
Perfect.
job. Yes, perfect
Yeah.
something before moving on to the next thing.
Yeah.
Hey, one quick little thing before we move on about the mother, who I think has the best.
She's the best.
best
Yeah.
sequence in the whole movie.
Oh, yeah, I really want to talk about that.
Yeah.
later.
But like the mom, when I was a little kid, because I've been watching this movie since I was like a
Kid.
baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when I was a little kid, I also liked Alien, and I thought she was Sigourney Weaver.
Really?
Yeah. And then I grew up a little bit, and I'm like, oh, they're
That's
not.
not Sigourney.
I know,
Yeah.
not at all.
Wow, Ripley's a badass.
And I
Even
also
in Gremlins.
Even when I was a little kid, I thought that Randy was John Candy.
Oh, you know, I
He
can see
could
that. though.
easily
Yeah, I
play
can
that
see
character.
Yeah, I can actually see that a lot. But yeah, so Billy is interrupted because that's when Rand gets home, and Rand gives Billy his gift, and we finally meet Gizmo, the Mogwai. And
Gizmo is fucking cute.
Yeah.
That is a quote from, let me look it up, Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah. And Howie Mandel does the voice.
Crazy.
Which is insane.
And when Billy sees Gizmo, he describes again, it's really neat.
He's really neat, Dad.
Again, okay, so.
Yeah, it's really neat.
For the record, that thing, if I ever had a Mogwai, it would ruin my life because I would just never go back to work.
I know.
I wouldn't be here right now doing a podcast. I would be at home playing with that thing.
Oh my God, all the time.
That is such a friggin' brilliant design because you look at it and you're like, that has to be the cutest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah. And,
it's got the little belly on him and stuff. You just want to poke it.
And then the ears, like the big ears.
See, I got to push back on you guys here. 'Cause something about Gizmo is weird to me, right?
Yeah.
He's too human, right? The way that the people are reacting, like they want to welcome him into their home, right?
Yeah.
He's so much different than a pet, right? That he has like too many human qualities.
Was it his briefcase?
It was his briefcase, he loves watching the movies. No, it's just he acts a little too. I would feel bad to own him. He seems to have enough autonomy, right?
He should have his own job.
This is a moral quandary I have about Pokemon, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You have Pikachu out. Okay, he's like a mouse guy, right? Like I have no problem stuffing him in a ball. The ones like Machamp that like are bipeds and have arms and thumbs.
Yeah.
Little weird about like, you belong to me, right? Like Gizmo, he's not quite, I'm not trying to like institute like an uncanny valley of like pets, but like he does teeter this line of is he too autonomous for me to like want to own him?
Okay, so here's the thing. I would love for Gizmo to have to like leave the Pelters and actually have to get a job.
That's what
It's just like a fry cook.
First, I started off working and mopping the floors. but I always thought it like
Gizmo, you cut those fries.
Right away. Sorry, right away. I just thought like because he has like his ears are and hands and feet are like flesh tone. Right? Or whatever.
Yeah.
What would he look like completely
shaved?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like he would
You're a sick
not
pervert.
look cute.
Yeah.
No, I feel like he would not look cute at all, right?
Look like a shaved cat.
Yeah.
Where you're like, I guess you're still cute, but
Oh yeah.
Let's get some fur back on that thing.
Yeah. Let's get fur back on that. But yeah, so Mr. Peltzer lays out the rules because the mom at one point she pulls out the camera to take a picture. And it kind of blinds Gizmo a little bit, and he's like bright light, and so
to be fair, that probably shouldn't have really like brought up a conversation because I feel like most people would react to that bright of a light flashing in their eyes.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, that
I wouldn't know that was a rule.
Yeah. So Mr. Peltzer explains the rules, and he's like, okay, yes, you can't get them wet, don't feed them after midnight, and no bright lights because it could kill him. So later that night, Billy learns the song Gizmo hums, and on the keyboard, they're like playing the keyboard together. And I actually always loved that.
It's
scene.
so cute.
It would have been cool if they like formed a band.
Oh man, that would have been awesome.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah, he's
Imagine
just jamming on the keys.
Yeah.
Hey, Billy's bedroom. There's like a
it's wild, right? The
It's awesome.
poster. Yeah,
It's
I
the
wrote
coolest
down some of the
bedroom.
stuff that he had.
I saw a Twilight Zone poster.
Yeah,
a poster
rolled
for
up.
Road Warrior.
Yep.
Yeah.
Back Fangoria issues, and then in my notes it says ... That was pretty much my bedroom growing up.
Same. Yeah.
It was not much of a difference.
Right.
He had
Basically was.
Conan the Barbarian comics like on his like table. They're the actually the ones I've been kind of collecting recently, so that's pretty cool. I thought that was awesome.
I know. But
yeah,
his room is awesome.
Really, I even like his little workstation where I'm like, oh, that's cool.
Like where he draws. Yeah, Billy's an artist.
Is this where he shows that he has this like mutated version of Mrs. Deagle? Is this
that
here?
cool photo.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Pictures. He's doing that in the bar.
Oh yeah.
And then Yeah, that's when what's his face, Chuck Jones shows up and he's like, "Don't quit your day job." Oh, that's not the line. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but the next day,
See you in the funnies.
see you in the funnies. The next day, Pete, Corey Feldman, shows up to drop off a tree for the Peltzer family.
What's the deal with
His
the
costume?
tree costume?
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
seems like you're
Also-
a walking calamity
Yeah,
at that point.
this feels like a plot that was like set up in the opening that they just abandoned because the cops
Yeah.
show up there and he's like trying to get like a free tree. Did you catch that? Or
Yeah,
he's like,
yeah.
and they're like, no, give it to this, right? It's just there was something going on there, and they mention a character I think there who's like not in the movie. He's like, oh, he always pay, right? It's like,
right, yeah.
I'm gonna say I'll push back on that just a little bit. I think what it is that Spielberg movies always have these like little characters with quirks that kind of gives they're like the movie's character. And I think it's just supposed to be like a
in
quick
2024 it'd be
little side
called
thing.
world building, right? That like you want to have things exist beyond what is in the shot, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just sort of like like you see it, and you're like the frame just gets a lot more like energy. You're more excited by what's going on because it isn't just people being like, "Here's $50 for this Christmas tree," which
Yeah,
is
it's not
what
the
it would
room
be
when he's
today.
like buying the flowers, like
It should have been.
yeah, right.
Oh, hi, Barney.
But I also think like the tree costume, I think that's the like maybe okay, so when the mom gets attacked by the gremlin in the tree later on, I don't know if that's like obviously like a person maybe in that costume and they just wanted to make use of it more.
Maybe
I don't know.
Honestly, you've unlocked a conspiracy theory. I think you are onto something.
But because I thought about that too, because I was like, oh, obviously it's like a person on top of the mom, because you could.
Yeah.
It definitely has like a humanoid
Right.
kind of thing going on. So I don't know if they were like, oh, let's we could have Billy kind of wear that and then later on use it as like the
I'm going
gremlin.
to show my movie not knowingness here, but was Corey Feldman a name at the time or
Sure
no?
was. He was a rising star. at that point.
Okay.
And for the record, Corey Feldman is a wonderful child actor.
Oh,
Because
outstanding.
in a couple beats from now, Corey Feldman, when he's interacting with Gizmo, he is so good because he makes me believe that thing is real.
Yeah.
Like he's like kind of like smiling at it and kind of blinking his eyes at it and stuff. Like it's very real to me.
Yeah.
I love Corey,
So-
like young Corey Feldman.
When Corey in the scene bothered me, I can't say why, right? But at this point, I did create a list for fun, right? Where I was like, who's annoying me the most in this movie? So, and I will say it was like a race. There was like a sliding scale, like characters jumped around.
Yeah.
So I will reveal at the end my top 3 most annoying characters in this movie.
I'm
But
excited.
so Corey's right now in the number 1 slot. Everybody else I'm in on.
Okay.
Right? Like,
all right. Yeah.
I'm so happy you're here.
So, me too. But yeah. So Billy shows.
Oh,
Gizmo.
by the way, one last thing about the tree costume. When I
Yeah.
was a kid, I thought that Corey was actually inside of an actual tree because I was like 4 or 5 at the time, and I'm like, I don't get it. But it's
Yeah.
okay. We'll move past that. That's my childhood issues.
So Billy shows Gizmo to Pete, and Pete immediately spills water on Gizmo, and Gizmo starts to spasm and projectile like little fur balls that eventually they become more Mogwai. But in that scene, you're right. Like he's like, "Oh, look at you, little guy."
Yeah.
And I do like his acting in it. But
up until he spills, right?
Yeah.
And then once the Gremlins or the other Mogwai come out, I have my note here. This is what I realized. I kind of connected this through line where I wrote down, humans are really cool with disturbing shit. Right? That they're like it's literally these other monsters are forming. They're like, oh, this is awesome. It's
Let's
like,
just watch. Let's see how this plays out.
Would you be screaming?
that's what I'm saying. That there's something. Not the there's just something not right about what is happening there,
Right.
and they're like super like this is amazing, right?
Like even like Gizmo is like banging his fist on the ground,
Yeah,
screaming
right,
in pain.
right. Like it's like
And then Corey's like, does he always yell like this?
yeah, it's like you brought him in. It's like you brought him in as a pet. You promised to follow these 3 rules. You broke the rule immediately, 2 of them already, and like.
Not even 24 hours.
Yeah, to the point where he's gonna go to the school chemist or whatever, the scientist, and do it again. So like,
what if like Billy was just real stupid? He breaks the first 2 rules so fast. He's like, "Oh, he reproduced like that. Here, have a sandwich." What time is it? No, don't worry about it.
Don't worry about
I'm sure
that.
it won't lead to anything bad.
So Billy
Oh,
goes...
by the way, America, if you pour water on EJ, he will also reproduce.
Yeah, it's true.
This isn't the first time I've said this on the podcast.
No, I'm part Mogwai.
I know.
It's true. Yeah.
It's actually, I don't even know which version of you I'm talking to right now.
Right. There's multiples.
I know you have a stripe on your head right now, and it's
Yes.
it's pretty rad.
I'm the striped one. So
I have a message from you, which is weird, saying don't trust the guy at the podcast.
What?
Yeah, how are you texting me that?
I don't know. Wait, how that...
We'll
happened?
address this after the
we'll
episode.
figure it out later.
Yeah.
So Billy goes to tell his dad about what had just happened. And the father is like, all right, hold on, check out the bathroom buddy thing. And then he's like, oh, it didn't work again. Whatever.
Now, at
Yeah.
that point, I'm like, Dad, shut up for a second.
Dad,
The most amazing thing
hold
just
the fuck
happened.
up. Yeah.
He's
Dad,
like, I want to talk to you about the bathroom buddy. Okay, Dad.
it's like, all
do
right,
your shtick.
I'll hear you out. So then the father sees it, right? All the different Mogwai, and he goes, hey, I think I can profit off of this by calling them the Peltzer pet. It's like, you don't even give credit to the original thing. Like, you didn't create this.
like this is the 80s, right? So like the
Yeah.
horrors of capitalism are just rolling in quick.
It's like, we're not going to even call it a Mogwai anymore. We're going to call it the Peltzer pet. It's like, what?
So you got your wish. The Social Network is realized Rand Peltzer.
So at school, Billy takes one of the Mogwai to his science teacher, Mr. Hansen.
Which is the smartest thing a character has ever done in a movie?
But even
Yeah.
this bothered me because. So we all agree that Billy's what 40 to 50 years old,
Right. Yeah.
and so he's only a few decades out of school, right?
Right.
So clearly he goes back to his roots and goes to the high school.
yeah.
No, he goes to Corey Feldman's science class. So what is Billy like? How does he have a connection with this guy?
And why is Billy also hanging out with Little Pete?
Yeah,
all
like,
the
that's what I'm
time?
saying. It's like everyone's pretty cool about Billy hanging around with elementary school kids at the elementary school. Like,
Yeah. What's going on with Billy? So anyways, Billy goes to this school.
I got comics. You want to come over?
Whoa. You have a Twilight Zone poster? So Billy takes it and he leaves one of the Mogwai behind. And so that way Mr. Hansen can run a few
but he
tests.
clones another one here, right? Like he literally
Yeah,
does
he
it
literally
again.
clones another one. And so...
After witnessing the pain it causes.
Right, yeah.
The first. Yeah. He's like, you know what? Let's just get this one wet again, and here, check this out.
Break another rule. Why not?
Yeah. So on his way home, Billy comes across Kate and a very drunk Mr. Fetterman, who is again complaining about foreign parts and gremlins in the machinery.
Do you think that Mr. Futterman has some PTSD?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I feel like he has PTSD for sure.
Yeah.
But especially because he is drunk at this point.
Yeah, he's just like,
And
he
he's
looks
like-
like he's a mess.
Rambling on about gremlins and the machinery. And I feel like at this point, it's kind of like, all right, like, you're crazy. This guy's crazy. What the hell is he talking about? But then later on, maybe he did see Mogwai, like gremlins in the machinery. Who knows?
Possibly.
Yeah. So anyways, Billy and Kate, they walk home, and we find out that Kate actually hates Christmas. She's like, it sucks.
So
right?
I do want to talk about this because she
Yeah.
mentions Christmas bullying, right?
Right. Oh, yeah.
So I will give you a little insight. I've learned to like Christmas, but I'm not the biggest Christmas fan
right.
in principle, right?
Me
like,
either.
Yeah.
And I have been in many occasions bullied for this thing. So like when Kate is like, no one ever cares or says anything if you don't like Thanksgiving, I was like, preach, like, like you're on this, right? Because I have definitely been attacked. Like it's almost like if you're at a bar and you're like, oh, I don't drink. Like it's like you're immediately like a Maury Povich and everyone wants to have like this
ostracized.
investigation about why you don't. If
Yeah.
you say you don't like Christmas, people will read you the riot act. You know what I mean? And it's crazy. So like this was a weirdly connecting scene for me.
Yeah, I actually really enjoyed the scene. And she's like, and like exactly what you said. She's like, no one makes a big deal if you say I hate this or that, right? But she's like, oh, if it's Christmas, everyone, bullies you.
I like that line she has where she's like, "Well, everyone else is opening up their presents, other people are opening up their wrists or something." And I'm like,
Oh my
"This-
God,
yeah,
it's a
dark.
kids movie."
Yeah, so yeah, right.
dark,
So
yeah.
so this will not be the first time we see this in this movie, where it's almost like Phoebe Cates is overacting this movie. Where there's a couple scenes where she's delivering really good lines and really good dialogue at a very high quality, and it's like almost like the other actors on the screen, including Gizmo, are so bad at engaging with her,
Yeah.
and they're just like they got nothing, right? Like
I got nothing to say to that. I don't know. But
Their chemistry when they're like, he's asking her out.
Oh, yeah.
I love it.
Invested, yeah.
That's like one of those moments where I realize how good of an actress she is.
Yeah,
because
she's
like
great.
I totally believe that she's just been like waiting for this guy to get himself together and finally ask her out.
Right. Yeah.
Like there's like a nice little, and it's a very old fashioned type of thing too.
Yeah.
Because she's like, "Oh, gee, Kate, you want to
Yeah.
want to go to the malt shop?"
yeah, I know this movie came out in 1984. Was it supposed to be 1984? Because like
It is,
I think
but
so,
it,
there is like a timeless quality
very much
to this.
so.
Yes,
I
yeah.
think it's just that it's supposed to be like small town, old
Yeah.
world America, and because Billy oozes that.
Yeah,
It's like an old American
it's like a very
charm.
Leave It to Beaver. Like you
Yeah.
see, like Wally. He kind of acts like Wally at
Exactly.
times, like
Because he's like, "Oh, would you want to go on a date with me?" And she's like, "Yeah, sure." And he's just like, "Oh yeah, really?" Like he's just like, "Oh wow,
Gee golly, that sounds great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you're gonna be my best gal."
So later that night, we see at the school, Mr. Hansen is running a few tests, like drawing some blood from one of the little Mogwai.
hate that.
I know.
So I will say,
Yeah.
like, first off, conducting unethical. We here at FREAKQUELS do not condone any kind of unethical experiment on animals, right?
Preach.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Secondly, this is one of my least favorite movie tropes, where it's like the high school teacher or elementary school teacher in this case is literally at the school to 2 a.m.
Right.
Like he's in a real lab
in my
or something.
experience, my elementary and high school teachers, they literally would almost drive me over, after the bell rang. Like, they were so quick to get out of there.
They're like GTF, like
Right, like,
Yeah.
and rightfully so, right? They don't get paid enough to, like, what are they doing to stay there and conduct? Go, we gotta prep the experiments. Get the hell out of here, right? Like,
Yeah.
like,
Do you think there was a side story where he was having marital problems?
I don't know.
She's like, "I don't want to go
Honestly,
home."
sleeping at the school.
In a movie where gremlins overrun a town, this
Yeah.
might be the most unrealistic thing in the whole film. Is this guy like, "Oh yeah, I'm just gonna unpaid and work to 2:30 in the morning."
Just had a shower, like scene where the security shows up, like Bill, what are you still
Yeah, go
doing here?
home,
What's
dude.
wrong with
Like,
you?
Like, do
my
you have
God.
problems at your house? Like, what is
Most
going on?
unrealistic.
I got a lot of problems at home.
So
You
you're
see
saying
that sad sandwich? It's like there's just the.
So you're saying the most unrealistic thing in this movie, Gremlins, is this guy being at the school to 2:30, and I couldn't agree more.
I never really thought about it because I've seen this movie so much, but like, why is he there so late?
Like if you
Yeah.
had, if you had a friend who was a high school teacher and they
Yes,
were like
I do.
they were like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I was working till 2:30 in the morning yesterday," you would be like, "Why? what is going? What in your like halo of responsibilities has you at the school until 2:30?" I would immediately think something suspicious about this person.
I'd be like, what
No.
are you doing there?
Let me try this. Is he only there just because he's trying to keep an eye on the shit with the Mogwai?
Yes, I think that's kind of what it is. It's like,
Because realistically, like if someone ever showed you one of those things, you'd be like, first of all, this kind of like blows my mind because I've never seen something like this before.
Yeah.
And then number two, like I have maybe the only one, and I'm conducting experiments. So if he's a scientist, maybe he's just fascinated by it.
not so fast, because this leads to what I was saying earlier, where
Get me.
about him being a pet.
Yeah.
If this guy is so enamored that he's going to be there to, like, I've never seen something like this in my entire life, this is a fantastic scientific discovery, then you shouldn't be keeping that as a pet.
Yeah.
Right? That, like,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I'm trying to make some logic out of this because I love the movie so much.
yeah, I feel like
I'm trying to justifying things.
so over at
I'm sticking up for Mr. Futterman over here.
So over at Billy's, Billy ends up feeding the Mogwai again, and it's a whole plate of chicken wings.
it is so much chicken.
Yeah, it's like a whole plate.
It is too much chicken.
Yeah,
My
it's
dream house
insane.
is hot wings.
Is it raw chicken too?
No, it
It's
looks
good.
like the mom took a stop at like KFC.
That mom works really hard. Can you imagine that mom the next morning being like, "Oh, I can't wait to cook all this chicken, or leave this out for my family." Oh, where did they ate all that chicken? Like
That was supposed to be a
I was-
week.
yeah, I was in this house.
it's Christmas time. I'm preparing that for the homeless shelter. Like
Yeah.
4 Mogwai.
Randy doesn't bring a lot of money, and that chicken was supposed to feed us for the next week.
That's another
Yeah.
thing. We're led to believe this family is struggling, and you're going to have 6 new pets. If I was that mom, and I found out that if I was that mom, and
Mom, I just watched Hot Ones, and I'm gonna feed my stripe.
he gets a
You're gonna what?
He gets a pass on the first shot, right? Because they don't know it's going to multiply. But then he goes to the. It's like, that makes 2 more. It's like they don't have the money, especially look how much chicken they ate. They can't buy.
Do you think they should have like every time it multiplied, they should have cut to the mother with like a
That's what I'm saying. I bet you that mother's
calculator, just figuring out the new family budget.
If this was like one of those movies where
I can't afford this.
if this was like one of those movies where it zooms into like the person's head, I bet you the mom's like, I can't wait to kill these things. Oh boy, is this dream realized?
Billy leaves the house for a little bit. You see her walking with like a little handcuff.
I imagine the scene down the road where it's just like they're all the gremlins are dead, and Billy's like, Mom, I have to let you in a secret. The gremlins are evil. You got to kill them. She's like, Oh yeah.
I figured that out before.
I thought they had rabies, so I took them out like old Mogwai. So
She takes him out on like a little boat.
it's like old Yeller. It's just
It's like Fredo and Godfather too.
yes, yeah. Fredo. So
by the way, the big close up
yes.
of those things eating.
Oh.
That stays with you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's just gross, and they're like ripping the meat.
I'm fairly certain that's what I look like when I
And
eat.
Gizmo
though.
is like weirdly nearby, just
Yeah, just like
chilling. Actually, I wrote this down. He was watching. Where is it here? He was watching To Please a Lady, 1950. Clark Gable.
Cary Grant.
Yeah, or was it Cary Grant or Clark?
Clark
Clark
Gable.
Gable. Clark Gable and Barbara
Stanwyck.
Yeah.
Hey, so we could probably say that Gizmo is very good at communicating in general.
Yeah.
He seems to hold back a lot when it comes to like what's going to
Yeah,
unfold.
right.
He's withholding with a lot of really important details.
Yeah.
He's just like watching them like, oh no, they're eating.
And I will say this. So you described Gizmo earlier as cute, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I remembered him, And when I rewatched it this time, I found his facial expressions to be like, this isn't cute. Like you
He's manipulated.
yes. Like what's going on here?
I'll tell you what, you can get me on that scientist working till 2 a.m., but I will fight you to the death. That is the cutest fucking thing I've ever seen.
He has some looks about him that are pretty shifty.
Yeah, he does. He has a side eye a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
So
I think he just likes fucking up people's lives.
yeah, he does.
He has what my grandfather would have called a pickle puss. Mr. Futterman,
another pickle puss.
yeah.
So the Mogwai we see at school because Mr. Hansen leaves a sandwich down, right, and to go, do whatever. So we see the Mogwai like reach over, grab the sandwich, and starts eating it. And we see it's like well after midnight, 2 o'clock in the morning to be specific.
That ham sandwich that was going to hold him for like 15 hours.
Yeah. It's like,
Well, it's 2:30 in the morning, so he has another 6 hours to go
Right.
at school.
Do you think, would it be really funny to show how sad that guy's life is? You see him in like the cafeteria, like stealing food.
can you give me another extra sandwich?
Or like the next day when he's like showing the like film to the class, he's like rolling up a sleeping bag like he just lives at the school.
It's like behind the one long desk.
There's like one line cut out of the movie where it's just like, oh, like how's your wife doing? He's like, I don't want to talk about it, Billy. What's that creature you got? Let's focus on that. These are things I can control.
So the next day, Billy wakes up to a bunch of slimy, like pods / cocoons.
We saw Alien Romulus. So
Right,
like,
it's
just
like Alien Romulus.
Yeah,
Imagine if that's what popped
Yeah.
out instead. Oh my god.
There's I know those things were inspired by the pods.
they
from
had to
Alien.
be, right?
Yeah.
They absolutely had to be.
And they look
100%, yeah.
cool. Like
They look awesome.
They
Yeah.
don't look like today. Again, I feel like they would make it a little too like clean. Like I like how those things are like goopy and
I hate to beat a dead horse though, but going back to like how the characters react to the situation.
To the
if
pods.
you woke up and you saw those pods, right, you would be like, get the flamethrower. Right, like,
I'd be
like, no, we'll just
call
leave them here.
911.
Yeah, we'll
let's
leave
get
them
like.
here.
There's no way this is gonna be good.
Billy's like, I'm in over my head here.
Or like when you try to like clean it up, be like, okay, well, I don't know what's going on, but maybe I should throw these in the garbage.
Or like, let me smash one because I can always make infinity more. Right?
Yeah, I guess he downplayed.
Yeah.
Seeing the most
Right,
amazing
like,
thing
he
ever.
doesn't even clean it up.
Yeah.
Like you just like
Risk assessment is a big thing in this movie for
Yeah.
sure.
He sees this, and same with the one at school. At school, we also see that the one that ate a sandwich is now in a pod cocoon kind of thing. So the pods at Billy's home start to break open, and while we'll see Mrs. Peltzer on the phone with Rand.
Okay. All right, now we're talking.
Now we're
Yeah.
cooking.
This is the stuff I really wanted to talk
Can
about.
I right out of the gate just throw something out there that's one of my favorite things in any movie? So, do you know like the time machine from the H.G. Wells? You know what it is?
Yeah.
So that thing is in the background,
Yeah.
right? So he's like talking on the phone, and you
Right.
see it, and then it goes back to Mrs. Peltzer, and when we go back to Randy, the thing has
It's gone.
disappeared. It had
Yeah.
traveled back in time, so you see like the scorched marks on the ground, and everyone's looking for it. Like
Yeah.
it's such a funny visual
Yeah.
gag.
And then Steven Spielberg is there too.
Yeah.
Riding around on the bicycle.
I can't get enough of this. I don't really have anything to say about the Inventors Convention other than I can't get enough of this Inventors Convention.
Yeah.
To the point where I know you're a Buffy the Vampire Slayer fan.
Oh, yeah.
What's your favorite episode?
Oh, geez, where do you start? Well,
Zeppo.
Thank you for walking into
oh,
it.
the one with Xander.
So,
when he's, yeah,
and the whole pretense of that episode is that it's like a B episode or whatever, where Buffy's doing this like end of the world stuff, but unlike a normal TV show where the camera would follow the main character, right?
Yeah.
It stays with Xander. I desperately wished that when they hung up the phone, the Gremlins movie would just fade to the background, and we would now be watching a day in the life of Rand at the Inventors Convention. Right? I was so ready to leave this movie behind and just jump into that world.
oh man,
I
all
would
those
love
like
that.
robots and
Yeah, and I got one more thing to say. I
Yeah.
hate to do it because the mom is my favorite character. I want to,
Yeah,
I want to
she
give a
is,
compliment
too.
sandwich.
Yeah.
The gingerbread men are horrible.
Oh,
They
yeah.
are the worst looking gingerbread men I have ever seen in my entire life.
well, she had to cut back on a lot of the
Right,
ingredients because her son keeps
the
making
chicken
more
budget,
pets.
the chicken budget really just
just blew it on the chicken budget.
barely have enough
not to
ingredients
sound like
make
not to sound like Paul Hollywood, but that is just not an acceptable gingerbread
No.
for
And so while she's on the phone with Rand, we see then we cut over to the school, and at Billy's, the pods and the school, they start to hatch, and Mr. Hansen tries to bribe the hatched Mogwai, which with a Snickers bar, and he ends up getting killed. Right. Well, we could assume that I would assume Mr. Hansen died.
Oh sure.
Right.
And what's awesome is that gremlin jammed a syringe into his ass.
Yeah. So and so now we know like the thing has transformed into something a little more mischievous and evil. And that's when Billy arrives, and he comes across a possibly very dead Mr. Hansen and the gremlin.
Doesn't call the police either.
Nope. Oh my god, I wrote that literally in my notes. By the way, why didn't Billy call the cops like right away? Your teacher's dead, and he's like,
Not
"What's
his
going on
teacher.
with this thing?"
Perfect time to bring it up would have been when he was talking to the police later on in the movie.
Right.
Oh, by the way, my old teacher.
He's dead.
Murdered.
I'm pretty sure he's dead. He's laying face down.
if you're looking for evidence, just go to the school that claimed the and also
My teacher was laying face down in the classroom
Right, how-
with a needle in his butt. They're like, "Oh no, he's been staying there."
we've already established that no one cares about this teacher, not even his own family,
Right.
but to the point where like he's literally and it's not like he got killed in the back room. It's the middle of his
Right.
classroom.
It's in the middle of his classroom.
I guess they were dismissed for Christmas. Also, did they
Yeah.
ever go to school on Christmas Eve? That's
Oh
weird.
yeah, it is Christmas Eve,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Hey
Yeah.
man, they They're hardcore with their education in Kingston Falls.
Yeah, sure.
And so, then at Billy's, the Gremlins bully the crap out of Gizmo. We see them beating up Gizmo, and he's kind of like on a dartboard, and they're throwing darts at him. And Billy gets a call from, the mom gets a call from Billy to get out of the house. He's like, "Mom, get out of the house. They hatched," and he doesn't even say, "Oh, they killed Mr. Hansen." He's like, "Just get out of the house." And that's when randomly Mrs. Peltzer hears the song, "Do You Hear What I Hear?" which I always associate with this movie.
And it also
always.
creates a weird vibe for the movie too, to kind of help build up the suspense a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what's really cool
It's
too?
so good.
When she approaches the record player, because now we have Blu-rays, the high def stuff. If you look on the record player, right next to it, you can see little feet.
Oh,
Gremlin
really?
feet. Yeah,
really?
little
No way.
footprints in the
That's
dust.
awesome. I never
Yeah,
looked for
it's
that.
just
now I have to look and see it. Yeah. And now we get to see Mrs. Peltzer is probably the backbone of this family, because she is a total badass.
Yeah, that's probably why I thought she was Ripley.
Yeah, she is a cold-blooded killer.
She just jumps into it.
Right.
Maybe she was a Mr. and Mrs. Smith situation.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If you were to ask me, what character was in WWII, I would say Mrs. Peltzer.
What if I could cut to Mr. Butterman? He's like Mrs. Peltzer was crazy back then.
Yeah.
Again, I basically watched this movie blind. When she grabs the second knife,
Yeah.
and she's like Bill the Butcher from Gangs of New York. This was insane to me.
Noses and ears, the prizes of the day.
It was like they're not locked up in here with you're locked up here with me. To the point where, as the Gremlins go on their spree later on in the movie, spoilers, I was like, damn, they really should have brought back Mrs. Peltzer.
I know,
she was got stuff done.
She was the
everyone
secret
in
weapon.
This town is incompetent. Where'd she go?
That's actually a new rule that they added after the movie. It's don't get them wet, don't feed them after midnight, just keep them out of the sunlight, and keep them the fuck away from Mrs. Peltzer.
So right away, she kills 3 of the Gremlins, all in the kitchen. She juices one, she stabs another, and then
Yeah, she puts
the
it in
third
a
one.
fucking grinder, and its
Yeah.
body's swinging
It's rad.
around.
Yeah, and it's just you just see green slime going everywhere.
There's a moment where you're like, this is a kid's movie.
Yeah.
And it's when she runs at it with a knife,
Yeah.
fucking Norman
It looked
Bates.
I think they were trying to reference Psycho there, because I think there were other scenes in that movie that called to other kind of classic horror stuff for sure.
Yeah.
But this is definitely the scene, and it really kind of is an outlier where it's what's going on here? Where you could see that PG-13 kind of
Right. Yeah, especially the microwave.
I was
The
going to
microwave was
say,
crazy,
that's the
'cause
darkest
That's
one.
the darkest one. And in my research of this movie, I came across, because it probably was a thing when we were kids too, where there was always that old wives' tale about putting a pet in the microwave, right? There was always there was always this superstition about an animal in the microwave, right? Since the advent of the appliance, right?
Yeah.
So in some weird shock way, they were kind of going for that.
Yeah, it was insane.
It's a cool effect too, because its face is all melting
Yeah.
and shit.
Yeah, it looks awesome.
Yeah, that was awesome. Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, one gets the better of Mrs. Peltzer, but luckily Billy arrives in time, uses the
Oh,
sword.
you talking about the Christmas tree?
Yeah, the Christmas tree one.
Cool fucking visual thing
Yeah.
is that she's backing into the tree, and you see these
the
red
red
eyes
eyes.
that are
And they
blending
almost
in
look
with the Christmas lights.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
So
It's so cool.
and then that charges at her.
Yeah,
And then Billy shows up and does what I was talking about earlier, the setup and the payoff. Because it happens at least 2 or 3 times where that sword falls off the wall.
yeah.
And then Billy shows up and uses it.
He pulls Excalibur, yeah.
Yeah, he pulls Excalibur. Yeah, and so he ends up, killing this one. Unfortunately, Stripe gets away. And then Billy takes his mom to his neighbor's house, which honestly, they should have just kept Mrs. Peltzer around to
Absolutely.
literally just take them all out, because she did pretty good on her own. I feel like getting rid of her, because I thought about it, because I haven't watched it in a bit, so I'm like, where did she go after this? And I was like, oh, because getting attacked, and he takes her to the neighbors. Yeah.
And also, realistically speaking, I feel like she would be horribly traumatized.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, she's
Okay,
probably
yeah.
just probably just
Yeah.
sitting in a room rethinking everything she knows.
First, it was the chicken that morning.
Right. And from
I'm
like
still not over that.
and from like a script perspective, again, even though Billy looks like he's 40 years old,
Yeah.
like people for some reason treat him like a kid, so his mom would add too much believability. Like if he went to the
Yeah.
cops with his mom and was like, "Oh, there's like an attack," like the cops would
That's
be
right.
forced to take it more seriously than whatever scene ends up happening with the cops.
It's
that's so true.
Billy's journey.
But you would think the mom was like, "No, I'm going to back up your story if you go to the police."
Right.
But, yeah.
Mom's in the neighbor's house, just like rocking back
Do
and
we
forth.
ever see her? I guess we see her at the end.
Yeah.
Right? But
Oh yeah. But yeah, Billy tracks Stripe to the local YMCA, where Stripe goes for a lap in the pool and gets some reps in, I guess. But Billy finally goes to the police. And
with the pool scene. I
that
always thought
is
that was cool.
awesome.
I like
It
that.
looks
Like
so good.
there's like this weird like noise
Yeah.
making, like when they're all like reproducing and shit. It's really cool.
and the pool's like turning
Bubbling
different
and
colors.
green and-
Yeah.
Like it's just like a cool visual thing. You know what I mean? It doesn't
It's
make
so
a
awesome.
goddamn sense,
Right.
but it just looks cool.
Yeah. But as he goes to the police, they don't take him serious at all. And they're like, "Oh yeah, sure."
this is before
Peltzer.
Mike breaks bad, by the way.
Right. Oh yeah, this is before Breaking Bad. And Stripe now has a ton of gremlins rolling with him through the streets of Kingston Falls. I actually love that shot when you just hear
Oh, it's
them.
like the miniatures and
Yeah.
stuff, like
Yeah,
the
and
stop
they're like-
motion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's
And
really
they're like
charming.
walking
Yeah.
down the street, and you're like, "Oh man."
You see him, and
Yeah.
then they all come out of the
it looks
darkness.
like the cover of the Warriors.
Yeah, it really does. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's cool though,
so
because it's
cool
just like you
looking.
see the one and you're like, oh, there's Stripe, and then suddenly it's like an army comes out from the shadows,
Yeah.
and I'm like, that's good filmmaking.
Yeah.
Shit, yeah, it's awesome. Then we got to Mr. Futterman and his wife, and they're watching TV until it gets like a little screwy. And I love that it briefly plays 1950s Orpheus. Did you notice that? It's like the French film that pops on.
No.
Orpheus. You know the
Yeah,
one
and
you
he
just watched?
immediately doesn't like it.
Yeah, he's
You
like,
know,
"Oh, freaking foreign film."
film.
But eventually he gets frustrated enough to check the TV antenna outside. And that's when we hear the Gremlins theme swell for like the first time, like the dun 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 dun, and out bust the Gremlins in his snowplow. And I love the POV shot from the hood. It reminded me of the Naked Gun opening. And at one point I was like, I think it would have been funny if they just transitioned to the Naked Gun from that point on. Where it's like, it's just like the tractor just running things over. And then we see the final shot of them like running in towards, the plow towards Mr. Futterman and his
I like
wife.
Mr. Futterman's just like, I was right.
I was right. I was right. It was so good. And we now see the Gremlins kind of wreaking havoc into Kingston Falls. Some are chewing wires and tampering with the mail.
That's what I don't understand.
Yeah.
At what point, when does a joke become a dad joke?
I don't know.
When it's apparent.
That was comedy master John Reckless. Drops a line never to be seen again.
But so Billy, the Gremlins are now like just wreaking havoc, right? And they're chewing, and we see that at one point the cops,
Who are very helpful in
right,
this movie.
are just like, all right, whatever, we'll go, right? But all the Gremlins are basically just like terrorizing Kingston Falls. And Mrs. Deagles, she gets a bunch of Gremlins caroling. And,
Wait. Just a couple of things about Mrs. Deagle.
Yeah.
Because this is one of my favorite scenes
This
in
is
any
insane.
movie.
Yeah, this is fantastic.
Number one, lots and lots of great cat actors.
Amazing.
Um,
I thought
Kitty-
the one was a prop. When it moved, I was surprised.
Yeah. Kitty's of any PA Pet Rescue has been in contact with them. They're still alive and well and signing autographs. But I like that all the cats' names are forms of currency.
Yeah.
I didn't notice
Yeah,
that.
because she's obsessed with money.
Yep.
But yeah, she hears like carolers outside, and she's like, "Oh, stupid carolers!" Right?
And she's like, I love the idea that she has like a something like a bucket filled up with water that she's gonna just throw on them.
Yeah,
them,
that-
and
that'll-
it's like
that'll learn
freezing
them.
cold.
Yeah.
Yeah, and So as she opens the door, she sees all these like the gremlins, and they're all singing like out of tune, and she's like, ah, and she starts screaming.
So every time I watch this movie, I lose it when she's screaming. She's like, "They've come for me!" Like she's just been waiting for those demons to drag her to hell for years.
Yeah, she knows what she's done.
The demons from Ghost come out of the ground. They're coming for you, Willie. They're coming for you, Miss Deagle. Anyways, she gets out of her chair to go upstairs because she
Yeah, because they're like
she had
fucking with
like
it.
an easy lift chair or whatever.
Yeah, she has like the easy lift chair that,
And the gremlins are like messing around with the mechanics of it.
and so we see where she just like soars all the way up upstairs and shoots out to the
This is insane.
out of the window to her death. Like she's dead. Like
100%.
100% dead. And the cops just witness the death of Mrs. Deagle and the gremlins attacking Santa too.
Yeah.
They don't like get out of the car to be like, oh, we should help this guy out. They're like,
No.
isn't that like Bob in the Santa costume? And they're like, what's going on with him?
They are the least helpful cops.
They are literally looking at the gremlins and being like, what's going on here? Like,
Yeah.
just...
You think that thing the kid was talking about and this have any correlation?
I don't think so. Nah.
But I have a question about Miss Deagle as
Yeah.
she was flying out of there, right? Because I don't want to put words in your mouth. Like, that's got to be a favorite scene. I'm not saying your most favorite, but that's got to be a high part
it's
of the
up
movie.
there.
It's up there,
Yeah.
right? And I bet at the time that was also loved. I bet you that really killed it in 1984.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Did we just witness the birth of Home Alone, where it was like,
Oh, sure.
we like it when funny household traps make bad people hurt?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like-
Because it's always funny.
and
Yeah.
Chris Columbus is like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna like
Like
write
I'm
that
sure
down.
he got the
He's just
like I'm
writing
sure
it
like there
down.
was
Yeah.
like you know what I mean. It's like it's like
I'm gonna lock
when
that
when
back
like
there.
when I
Yeah.
saw that scene, I'm like, this is like a home like it's like Home Alone is just happening like inside this
like-
movie.
Well,
birth
let me
of
ask you a
it,
question. What would what would Home Alone have been if he casted one of the Gremlins instead of
Oh my
Macaulay
gosh.
Culkin?
It's just like yum yums. Buzz, your girlfriend, Wolf. At Dory's pub, the Gremlins are getting lit. There's a flasher. Some of them are gambling. Some are playing video games.
Yeah, Donkey Kong, right?
Some are acting like beatniks.
They're imitating. They're like caricatures of human beings.
Yeah.
And that's what's really funny. It's like they're just making fun of humanity.
Yeah.
They reenact Flashdance at one point.
The Flashdance
Crazy.
thing is amazing.
This is insane.
Yeah.
Like it just also insane how much popcorn is on the ground. Like,
Yeah, it's
like
everywhere.
we are recording live from a bar, right?
Right. Yeah.
There's not a popcorn machine on the premise.
That is a good point.
There's a lot.
There's a lot of popcorn.
in the scene.
Maybe there's like a
not
little.
even near the
Maybe there's a
theater.
little bit of a war between the bar and the theater.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, or exactly.
popcorn.
Maybe they had that prop for maybe the movies. And they're like, let's get it in.
yeah,
here.
Get in here.
There's like there's a
Yeah.
lot of chicken. There's a lot of popcorn. I like when I guess it's Stripe. He like
Yeah.
shoots with the six like it's almost like Animal Farm. He knows how to use like a revolver. And he
Yeah.
that part's crazy. Yeah,
It's
the
awesome.
scene at the bar is insane.
It's really good.
One thing that jumped out at me from this viewing is that Kate should lose her
She's
her
not
license.
carding them at
She's
all.
not carding
Yeah.
those underage gremlins. That's all I'm saying. She
I
should lose her
I wrote
job.
the same note.
Yeah.
But yeah, Kate, she is serving them all alcohol.
Unpaid, by the way. We've all established she's
Yeah.
not getting paid. For
And
this.
realistically, they're like 3 hours old. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
now they're
not-
trashed.
And they're trash. But Billy saves Kate.
Oh, by the way, before we go any further, there's this real fun little thing going on throughout the movie with Rock and Ricky.
Oh yeah, the radio host.
Yeah,
yeah,
I
yeah.
love when the cops. I think it's the cops are driving around, and you hear this thing where he's like, there's like the Gremlins obviously went into the studio, and he's like, "Hey, you're not Rock and Ricky fans."
Is he supposed to be like the Wolfman? Is that the
Yeah,
big-
Wolfman Jack. Yeah.
the Wolfman.
It's so good. So Billy gives Kate the news about what the Gremlins are, And that's when we get Kate's backstory, and it's probably the darkest, most depressing monologue in a film.
We have arrived.
About
This
her
is
dad
what I've been
dying.
waiting for.
Fun fact, though, just before we go off too much into it,
Yeah.
apparently they went to Joe Dante and said, "Hey, how do you feel about removing this scene?" And he was like, "Nope."
This is the movie.
Yeah, this is the best part.
We talked about this in the lead up to recording, where I got stuck on it. Like this was my Rushmore, right? Like like I joked earlier about the Inventors Convention and want to go this way. The rest of this movie did not exist. Like I was locked in on this
Her dad.
scene. This
Yeah.
scene.
Yeah, it's a great scene, but boy, it comes out of nowhere.
Nowhere.
Yeah.
No one can predict this.
I love it though.
And
Again,
it just shows like
so
Kate,
dark.
So dark.
yeah, it's super dark. And then Phoebe Cates crushes
Oh,
like
yeah.
the
Oh, yeah.
delivery.
You feel all that pain.
Yeah, you really do.
Yeah, she's a
And
very good actress.
I kind of feel bad for her because Billy, his acting
That's
is
what I was saying.
just so...
Snot. And Gizmo is such an asshole. Sorry, in this scene.
Because he's like making fun of
He's
her.
like,
He's just like, can we wrap this up?
There's gremlins outside. Can we wrap this up a little bit?
Would you be able to please go into what has happened to her father?
Yeah, so basically we get the story that one Christmas her father dressed up as Santa and tried to go down the chimney to deliver gifts and pretend, like to be Santa to surprise his daughter, which is Kate. But he had like an arm full of presents, but he gets stuck. And then at one point they even light the fire. And they have like a weird smell, and they think, "Oh, it's an animal
like an
stuck
animal,
in there."
yeah.
And then it turns out, when the police and everybody get there, it turns out it's her father, and that's why she kind of hates Christmas.
I'm here with an urgent alert. This is a podcast within a podcast. Thank you for inviting me on the show, by the way. So I'm bringing you my hot podcast, only one episode. It's called Casey's Chimney Death Facts.
I can't. Let's do it.
You ready? Okay, let's get into it. So for the next few minutes, we're gonna be focusing on chimney deaths.
All right.
So in the 18th and 19th century, there were many chimney deaths, usually through chimney sweeps. Most notably, kids, because of child labor laws not really being in existence. So at its heyday, really the 1800s is where the most people died from chimney-related fatalities.
Wow.
So much so that there is a famous story in England where one kid said, as he was stuck in the chimney, "I cannot come up, master. I must die here." And he did. They were unable to rescue him at the time.
No way.
So some more
my
chimney
God.
facts. Scholars and people who research this think that the word "stuck" actually originated here. That it was a trade word for chimney sweeps who died in chimneys, and that afterwards "stuck" became so ubiquitous. So all you degenerates out there, I don't know what you're watching on the internet, but those videos have origins in the 19th century chimney trade.
Wow.
So the cause of death in these accidents is called positional asphyxia. And it's a situation in which your torso goes below your legs and you get pressed in such a way that you asphyxiate.
That's insane.
And then once we get kind of into the more modern era, we see a precipitous drop in chimney-related deaths. But I have few more facts here. In 1928, 2 people died in the same chimney. So that's pretty rad. That was the one. So one chimney was responsible for 2 fatalities. That might be a record.
At the same time they died?
I couldn't research, but it could have been.
Okay.
The one chimney was responsible for 2 separate.
I have a
deaths.
cute idea for a date.
And then so once the chimney sweep trade, Dick Van Dyke kind of moved on to film.
Yeah.
The leading people that were killed by chimneys were burglars. That was where you saw the biggest,
Well, that helps.
and
yeah.
I found this in multiple sources because again I had abandoned watching the movie at this point. People on angel dust.
What? What?
And then lastly, someone's body was once found in a chimney 27 years after they died. That is the record of the most time that someone was deceased in a chimney. And ironically, they died in 1984.
Oh my god!
Look at you.
So they ended up finding the body
In 2011. 2011.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
That's insane.
I just imagine when the body was found, the family just being like, "That's what that smell was."
Oh.
Oh,
And there you have,
jeez.
folks. That was the Chimney Death Facts podcast.
Thank you
Casey
so much.
This is Casey Clocker signing off.
And since I'll never be invited to this podcast again, signing out.
Oh my god.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, that was amazing.
That was like too good for this podcast.
Yeah,
You wasted something really good on a very bad podcast.
It was like
Episode 1.
like I said, I had not seen this movie. I did not expect this.
Right.
And I actually read the wiki before I watched the movie.
Yeah.
And the plot synopsis on Wikipedia is 4 paragraphs long. The story about Kate and the chimney death is 2 of those paragraphs.
What? Is it really?
Yes. The largest segment of people talking about, like in the official Gremlins wiki, is about this one scene.
Wow. That's insane. But no, this is like the backbone of this movie.
Yeah.
Why maybe it has like the legs it does.
Joe Dante made the right call.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the producers and probably Spielberg were looking at this and they're just like, this is probably messing up the pacing. But no, they're wrong.
Yeah,
Joe Dante was correct.
Yeah.
It's like this is clearly not a comedic scene, right?
No.
Oh,
not
it
at
wasn't?
all.
But that's what I'm saying. It's like,
Yeah.
but again, because of freaking Gizmo, like,
In Zach Galligan.
yeah, it's
Like Billy, I feel like he doesn't like show any kind of like emotion of like
Right.
sadness or anything. He's just like,
it's almost
To be
like,
fair, there's a lot going on.
it's almost like she's doing a soliloquy, right? It's
Right.
like it's
Yeah.
wild. Like,
Would it be funny if like you just saw him and he's like looking at his watch like,
he's like, we gotta go.
maybe we could talk about this when the world isn't ending.
I
You
guess
should have
we're-
saved that for a first date.
I guess where my head is at is that, like, if the day I woke up to watch this movie for this podcast, if
Yeah.
you handed me a sheet or notebook paper and a pen and were like, Casey, I want you to write down 10,000 things that you think are going to be in this movie. Not one of them would be a man in a Santa suit dying in a chimney, causing like generational trauma to a girl.
In all fairness, though, that
gosh.
would actually be my first thing.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
would-
Yeah. Do you think also to credit like Joe Dante and Chris Columbus, it was also teaching children not to climb in a chimney?
No. But
Oh,
it's a
okay.
good thought. You shouldn't do that.
Nobody in this movie learned any lessons. Nobody.
No one learned. So at one point they realize all the chaos stopped outside.
Oh, wait.
and-
Just one little thing I wish I got to see in this movie.
Yeah.
The bank is trash.
Yeah.
Oh, the bank is totally trash.
We did
Yeah.
miss a scene I wanted to talk about too.
Oh, okay.
Just yeah. 2 little things. Number 1, the bank's trash, so I really wanted to see Gremlins opening up checking accounts. I wanted that. Number 2, to kind of go along with your Judge Reinhold thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is true or not. I'm fairly certain that it is. That was supposed to be the end of his character because they're supposed to find him like hiding away in the vault, like cowering, like a coward,
Oh,
and
okay.
he's all surrounded by money.
Right.
So it was supposed to be like,
Yeah, so I guess my 2 points is I had asked you before we started recording, did Judge Reinhold die in this movie? And the
Yeah.
answer that I didn't know is because I was looking up chimney death facts. The other thing I want to talk about is a scene we missed. It's like 5 minutes long, but it's where Rand tries to sell the guy at the gas station.
Oh yeah.
The
I skipped it.
cigarette.
Yeah.
smokeless ashtray.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's not really like a needed scene.
It,
Yeah.
I mean, you could argue that the chimney death scene is also not needed, right? In this movie but like that was like the crazy part to me about this movie was that like the Gremlins were happening and like all this other stuff that they were doing for the world building, whether it was the Inventors Convention, this scene at the gas station,
Yeah.
Kate's family, right? So I'm like, this is awesome. And then we cut back to the Gremlins. I'm like, can you guys go away now? Like, I really want to get back to this other stuff.
Let's see what's going on here.
I do really, really like all of Randy's inventions, because you see a bunch of them. The smokeless ashtray is a funny gag.
Yeah.
But I like and then Homer Simpson stole this. The electric hammer.
Yes.
Which was a lot of fun.
I like that too, yeah.
Yeah. And then there's this one I'm fascinated by. It's just like a bunch of fly swatters on like it's like a little gun, and they just swing around real fast.
So,
yeah.
So here's my question for you, because as the Gremlins guru, did you think...
That is my title, yes.
Yes, yeah. It was on your business card.
It was.
Did you think that Rand's inventions were going to be like how they were going to kill the Gremlins?
Yeah.
That's where I was watching. I was like, oh, that's why they're introducing this, right?
Right.
It's like they're failing at their original purpose, but like the family or people of the town are going to like repurpose them to exterminate the Gremlins.
Honestly, like, I thought that was something... I mean, I didn't think this when I was a kid, obviously. I was just watching the movie and I was blindly entertained by it. But looking back on it now, there's a thing about like how... Because this is like an old-timey thing where they would talk about like machines not working because they had gremlins in them.
Right.
Yeah.
So like that, it's almost like Randy's...
Was that Twilight Zone? He has the Twilight Zone poster in his room, and there's that famous episode of Twilight Zone about the Gremlin.
Gremlin, on the plane.
But like... I think with Randy's inventions, it's almost kind of like feeding into that, where it's like all of his machines don't work, and there's gremlins in the movie.
That's the point.
So I feel like as far as it goes, like that was what the purpose of those were, other than just the fact that it's fun.
Right.
And that's the thing. Like sometimes like movies today, I always say this, they forget to have fun.
Yeah.
Movies now are lectures. And like stuff like this, like Pete in the Christmas tree, Randy's little visual goofy gags, like you don't stay on them too long. They're just there and then they're gone and they're fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's why I
movies
was so
can be fun.
enamored by them.
Yeah.
Right. All this stuff, because it's stuff that's like missing from modern movies.
Yeah. Like it just it doesn't do much, but just for a second while you're watching like the drama unfold, you're charmed by something within the frame, and I appreciate that.
I did see people try. I don't think they were successful, but try to say that this movie is like a commentary on like our over-reliance on like appliances and technologies and things like that, and that the Gremlins are there to like represent like we should break away. You know what I mean? But like it is interesting to think about like in the context that like. But it comes back to that xenophobia that like I kind of tiptoed around at the start, where it's like he mentions that the Gremlins were European, but the Mogwai came from a Chinese shop. You know, Mogwai is supposed to be Cantonese, right? So it's like, what are we talking about here, right? It's like not every country besides America have, right? Like it's like, what's going on? It's like pick, you know, I don't know. It's
Pick
just
a lane.
Yeah. It's like everything that's not us is weird and scary and different, right? Which
exactly. So they leave the bank and they see all the chaos has stopped outside. And there's not one single person or gremlin in sight. And eventually they come across the movie theater where Billy and
Another
Kate...
one of my favorite scenes.
Oh, I love... This is probably one of my favorite scenes. And actually one of my
It's
favorite...
joyful.
Like, this line I probably laugh at more than anything. But
I hope it's the line I wrote down.
it's... So Billy and Kate find all the gremlins loving Snow White.
Yep.
And so I love that scene where she's like, what's going on? And he's like, they're watching Snow White and they're loving it.
No, he goes, they're watching Snow White.
I wrote it down too.
And they love it.
Yep, and they love it.
So in my notes it says, they're watching Snow White and they love it. I suspect this is something that will not be said during the test screenings for Snow White 2025.
Oh,
I was gonna make a Snow White 2025 joke earlier, but that moment is long past.
As long as it found its way in.
Yeah, we kind of got there weirdly at the end.
yeah, we
but,
got it. Yeah.
So
I had like white knuckles waiting to get to this point because I was like, I want to punch
Again,
down on
all
a
the
movie.
popcorn.
yeah, the popcorn's a mess.
Yeah.
So another I had a different read on this than you guys, right? They're kind of like trying to be sneaky because like they're observing that the Gremlins are in there and they don't want to be seen. And Gizmo starts humming the hi ho.
Yeah.
If he was in my backpack and he started doing that, I would have smashed him off the concession stand. You were literally on a stealth reconnaissance mission.
Shut the fuck up, Gizmo.
Right? Like, what are you doing?
What the fuck are you
Whose
doing?
side are you on?
Yeah. Yeah.
I also like that it implies that this is not the first time he's encountered Snow White.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Also-
he's like, he knows all. He's like, I know all this shit.
Yeah.
I know movies are supposed to be fun and whimsical and stuff like that, but I love that like Kate knows where the boiler room is. Like, she has a blueprint.
Follow me.
And
Well,
it's
she
kind of
works
like in a
there.
secret spot too.
Yeah.
Like
She actually works there as well.
yeah, right.
Like,
I think that I said that. I said
no,
that joke. I said that joke to my mom, and she was like,
Yeah.
"Well, what if she worked there, right?" And I was like, "Well, that's a fair point, but like,
Yeah.
she was like locked in on
She's
like
I
the
know where the boiler
location.
room is. So yeah, so Billy opens this gas line up, right? And eventually he, leaves like a little, like he lights a rag on fire and kind of leaves it burning, and that's when we see Stripe. He's like looking for some food, and he's like scouring up some of the popcorn and stuff, and then he sees across the street at the department store candy sign, and he's like yum yums, right? So Stripe,
So he can read. So
steps
again,
out. Yeah, so
having
he can
pets with
read.
creatures that can read,
Right.
A little weird.
So he steps out, and that's how you know Stripe is a bad guy, because he was ready to sneak in some candy into the movie theater.
But scumbag.
A scumbag. And then Billy and Kate, they blow up the movie theater.
Which I felt really bad about because I guess there was like a family living above the theater.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
they're just definitely like an apartment.
Yeah, it was the family that Mrs. Deagle was trying to repossess the house from.
They're like, I can't wait to get home. At least it's warm inside. And then it's just like,
We'll get the humidifier going for your cough. Oh, it's already going. I could.
Oh shit!
that poor family. And so Billy and Kate, your humidifier. Oh my god. So Billy and Kate head to the department store to stop Stripe, and Stripe really busts up Billy pretty bad.
Yeah.
He shoots him with a crossbow.
Okay, so
Yeah.
what is with the medieval weapons in this town? Now, given I am not a sportsman, right?
Yeah.
I do not think they sell crossbows in a sporting goods store. Like, I am pretty confident about that.
One thing that made me laugh while I was watching it was that when they go into the store and Kate sees Stripe for the first time, Billy goes, "That's Stripe. That's
The
their
leader.
That's
Yeah.
the leader." And I wanted Kate to be like, "What the fuck is your personal life like?"
What the fuck's going on here, man?
Like,
What the fuck is happening?
Also, leaving out the fact
You're a
that
lot, Billy.
Also leaving out the fact that the reason that they have a hierarchy is because of him.
Right? Yeah. It's because of him, Billy.
Actually, it's because of Rand.
Yeah, actually, it's Rand's fault.
Yeah.
To be honest, I do love the chainsaw scene where he's like trying to attack Billy, and then Kate gets the lights on, and you just see where he lets
rad,
go,
yeah.
and we see like Stripe getting pulled along by the chainsaw. I always
that
love
down,
that.
And then until it unplugs.
Do you think Billie Eilish was inspired for her song "Birds of a Feather" by the scene? And here, just for context.
don't play the volume though.
Yeah. Ready? Not this. Not this.
Oh.
Ready?
Look at that. So Billie Eilish is being dragged across the floor, very much like Stripe holding on to the chainsaw.
Right. Do you think that...
I think it's
She was
100%.
inspired.
Yeah, she's a hack.
Based on what you show, it's a definite.
It's a definite.
Yeah, but Billie Eilish, if you're
we know
listening,
you're listening. It's just reach out.
We're calling you out. We get it, Billy.
do you think she's like rubbing the back of her neck right now? Like,
She's
"Oh, shit, they figured it out.
They figured it out. So, we see where Billy then finds Stripe by the fountain, and at one point he gets a gun. Like Stripe gets a gun.
At the sporting goods store, they also. I mean, that
Yeah.
made more sense in the crossbow, but yeah, there's
Right.
This is an armory. Like
Right.
this is
It's like insane.
Right
this
next
is
to
what the South wants.
Yeah.
Right in the midst of the ET doll that I spotted, there's a crossbow and a handgun
Right.
for sale.
It's
Did anyone
like,
make
what?
did this scene make you miss department stores? Like,
Yeah, very
they got
much.
everything
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, meanwhile, Rand shows up with Barney.
Thank God.
And they only show up to witness Gizmo waste Stripe.
Also, just for Rock and Ricky to check in with the audience. 'Cause
Yeah.
He's just like,
Yeah.
he's like, oh, we got the National Guard.
Which completely ruins the movie because they hit him with the hoses, right? So clearly not all of the gremlins were killed in the
No, because you're saying. I think you're saying
Yeah.
like if they come back, he's like the National Guard's gonna turn the hoses on them.
Oh, that's
and
right, yeah.
and that's just like a funny line
Yeah,
because
right.
it's like, oh, that's just gonna make shit worse.
Yeah.
I like rocking Ricky Rialto.
But we see Gizmo basically, he pops open a shade that blasts like Stripe with sunlight.
Now, before he got to the shade, he was
Cruising.
adorable. He's in like a little Barbie car.
Yeah,
and he's just speeding through.
And also, he's in his mind. He's playing the scenes from the movie.
Yeah,
right.
Setup and payoff.
Yep.
And he looks cute as fuck.
Yeah, I will say this was the best. Gizmo, if you're listening again, like this was your best.
He's one of our
This-
listeners.
Yeah, this is one of your best
Yeah.
work. Like
We
the other
know we-
parts, I was unnoticed for. I know it was
Yeah.
your first movie, but you really
Sorry
picked it
for
up here.
calling you out
Yeah.
on Kate's scene. But yeah, this scene you made
did
up
good.
for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was he actually follows us. So.
And same thing, like you could tell that this was popular because
Yeah.
Gremlins 2 is essentially this, right?
Right.
Like Gizmo's really not in this movie all that, like all things considered, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
he is more of a secondary, tertiary character almost.
Oh yeah, and the second one he has like a whole
He's the
Rambo,
Rambo scene,
sequence.
yeah.
yeah,
Which is awesome.
Awesome.
yeah. But yeah, no, this is really funny. And then yeah, Rand, you think is like, oh, he's gonna show up and do something. He does nothing.
He does nothing.
And then
He just observes.
Yeah.
and then back at the
I think he
Pelton
actually
home,
tries to sell Stripe a smokeless ashtray.
right. But even back home, he doesn't take any responsibility.
Yeah.
The whole family's watching the news.
Wait, can we just comment on one thing about when Stripe actually like starts melting?
Yeah.
He's like
Again.
a Terminator.
Yeah.
Like,
But it's
It is,
it's
yeah.
a thing also where you're like you take a moment. You have to take a moment and be like, yeah, this technically was like a kids movie, and you watch that thing like melt down to its skeleton, and it's so cool.
And then it moves
Yeah.
again. It was almost like, wow, that scene was really messed up. Let's have one more because he like dies 3 times.
Yeah.
Right. Like
Yeah.
He's like
It's insane.
he's like the preacher in Cannibal the Musical.
Oh yeah.
But see, so it's funny because you're about to talk about Rand
news.
not accepting responsibility, but I want to talk about the news because
Yeah.
it's like, hey, everyone, like I think that at this point the movie was on my side,
Right.
and they're like, you know what? We've had fun with these Gremlins, right? that was a fun couple minutes. Let's learn about the secret history of Mrs. Deagle, a character we agree is dead, right?
Right.
Her story arc is over. Why do we need to call back to her in the movie? Absolutely do. Her husband was a shyster stockbroker.
Yeah.
Like, just like, what is going on?
Could
That news seemed like it was about 45 minutes
Too late, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's
Yeah.
like, why would we need
and they don't even like. They're not like.
No one reacts to it.
Yeah, they're like, oh, riots broke out due to mass hysteria. It's not like, oh yeah, there were like little creatures that ran amok. It was like, no, it's mass hysteria. This whole town lost.
And in other
it.
news,
Yeah. There was a gas leak at the local movie theater, and it kind of drove everyone insane.
I was thinking
Earlier
about that.
today at the local high school, beloved science teacher was found dead.
I wouldn't say beloved, John.
If you had argued,
Recently divorced.
all the characters in this movie acted like there was a gas leak the whole movie.
Yeah.
Then, like, maybe they didn't actually do it in the boiler room. That somehow carbon monoxide was just pulling up.
But as they watch the news, that's when we see the original shop owner from the beginning. He shows up, just doesn't knock on the door. He's just in the house already. And he shows up to take Gizmo back. And he kind of lays out like a lesson. Like, he's like, this is wrong, like with modern society, is you guys don't know how to treat the Mogwai yet. Maybe one day you guys will learn, right? And as he's leaving, Gizmo like says something, and so the shop owner stops, and he goes, oh, he wants to say bye to you. So Billy's like, you understand what he says? He's like, all you have to do is listen. And then
I thought he was clearly speaking English at
he
points.
was
too, yeah.
clearly
This was
speaking
like my favorite scene in
normal.
Transformers. It's like, you speak that? Like, it's,
yeah, Optimus, do you mind if I stay with the boy?
He's like, I want to go with the boy. And then he never speaks
He
again.
never speaks again.
Even in other movies.
Yeah. So we see where Gizmo says bye, Billy. And which he like, this is another thing. Stripe at one point goes, Billy, and he has like the gun on him, and he clearly can understand Stripe, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
What I thought was really nice is that he says goodbye to Billy,
Yeah.
but he also says goodbye to Barney.
Yeah, he
'Cause
goes,
he's like,
bye-bye, woof,
he's like,
woof.
Bye bye
Yeah, and I actually love that
Yeah.
a lot.
Barney was like Barney clearly did not like Gizmo when he first appeared.
Right.
But once the other Mogwai appeared, not even when they were in their gremlin form, there
Right.
was like a Barney, like the other Mogwai would be together and Barney and Gizmo would be together. So I thought
Yeah.
that was actually pretty cool.
Yeah. And that's where the movie ends. We see the shop owner kind of like walking off.
There's that beautiful wide.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it looks like a matte painting of Kingston Falls, and it looks like a peaceful,
It's so beautiful
neighborhood.
looking.
Yeah,
I although the thing that went through my head immediately is I'm like, man, does he have to walk all the way back to fucking New York?
Yeah, it's like
right.
yeah, we
Yeah.
don't know where Rand was, right? Like
Yeah. Exactly.
I think they say it's Chinatown,
Chinatown,
right?
But there's
Yeah.
there's multiple Chinatowns. If this is the Midwest, like Chicago has a Chinatown, you know. So.
Yeah, that's true.
I was just, for whatever reason, my young brain
Always
decided.
Well, let's
New York,
Google
New
where the
York.
Inventors Convention is, and then
Yeah,
That'll
exactly.
answer it.
But we get this, outro from Rand giving another voiceover.
yeah, really come back, circle back. We really needed to circle back to
Yeah,
this.
we needed Rand to give the outro. You know?
So, you ready to hear
By the way, I'm in this movie too.
Yeah, you were ready to hear my top 3 most annoying characters?
Yes, let's
One's
do it.
one. I feel like I'm doing clickbait here because it's like, you'll never believe one of them because Rory's going to be mad at me. All right. I did close
okay.
my notebook, but number 3, Rockin' Ricky. Like,
How dare you?
I just did not care. Like, he was a man. I just did not like Rockin' Ricky. He actually knocked Corey Feldman off the list. So
Hear that, Corey?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Corey should thank me later.
Yeah.
yeah.
He's got enough problems these days.
Number 2, I'm
probably
gonna get a
made
lot
him
of
feel
heat for
better.
this one, so I'm not on social media. Gizmo.
Boo.
Yeah, he still sucks. Just
I get it.
not liking what Gizmo was bringing to
He
this.
doesn't
this
take
movie.
any responsibility.
Right, that's
either.
what I'm saying. It's
but
like-
it's not his. Technically, it's not his fault. It's like
I'm
Billy.
sorry. I will not stand for this. Gizmo's adorable.
Yeah.
He's got a little stomach you can poke.
Yeah,
And he just wants to watch TV. And at the end of the day, who saves the day? Gizmo.
yeah,
right?
I guess.
You know
All
what?
right.
You guys
Okay.
are way too hard on that little guy.
All right. Well, let's hear number 1.
What's number 1?
I mean, this is an easy one. This is free. It's Rand, right?
fucking
Like, it's
Rand.
absolutely Rand.
I was like,
That's fair.
Rand doesn't make
Right,
your
yeah,
list.
like at this, like something was off about this guy right from the opening monologue.
Yeah.
And just like,
yeah.
that's why I refer to him as Hannibal Lecter. I have never seen a guy with so little screen time be such a menace in this movie. And like, he annoys everybody. That's why the scene with the him selling the ashtray is so important to me, right?
Yeah.
It's like, even during these moments of crisis, so far away from all this happening, he can't help himself from being a pain in the butt.
And we know for sure, like, there's been multiple deaths within this town, right? I think the guy from the bank that was like, "No, do it." We see the mailbox, like,
Yeah,
he
gets
dies.
he dies.
The teacher, Mr. Hansen, Mrs. Deagle, the cops, right? Like, so there are multiple, at least, like, who knows how many people died.
Wait. So
And Rand is responsible.
how awesome of an ending would it have been if you see that last shot and they're walking back to Chinatown,
Yeah.
and then you see the police cars coming up the road. Like, they arrest them.
There's a joke there too, because maybe Rand can't face punishment because all the cops are dead,
We're just gonna
which is
sweep
his
this.
fault.
He literally killed off the whole
This
police
is my new invention. It's a broom that sweeps everything under the rug.
Oh, my God.
All I am saying, all I am saying is, if you are in a shop, curiosities or otherwise,
Yeah.
and someone opens up a cage and there's like a biped creature that sings,
Right.
you're not buying that. Don't look. You can't look me in the eye and tell me you're buying that, right? You're just not doing it.
I think we live in different worlds. I would take that thing home.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so. I would be like, I don't know. Like, I would have to know certain things about
wouldn't.
it.
I would be more
I'd be
concerned about the
impulsive.
shopkeeper. Like, what kind of shop you running here? Like, what?
Right.
what-
Yeah. Exactly. I don't know. I just feel like, I definitely would agree with your list, especially Rand.
Yeah.
Rand
Rand
is
is unquestionably. Like,
yeah.
I'm gonna say this. I respect your opinions.
Mm-hmm.
I do. I don't agree with the goddamn thing you said.
And you know what's funny? Mrs. Deagle didn't even. Was
I
she
know.
even close on your list at all, or no?
No, because I mean,
She's very straightforward.
first off,
you know what to expect
even
from her.
well, that's what I'm saying is, even at the end when they refer to her husband being a crook,
Shiesty, yeah.
right? Like,
Just who she is.
That's her husband. You know what I mean? Like that's not her. Like she's dead. Like you're just that's inflammatory.
Right.
Second off, when was Miss Deagle wrong? The people didn't pay rent. Was she gonna let them live there for free?
Right. That's true.
The dog destroyed her belonging. If a dog, maybe not as cute as Barney, destroyed your property, he's gonna walk that off?
Right.
Yes.
Maybe on that one. I might be with you there.
Maybe, yeah.
But I think we can all agree, under all circumstances, a bank is not a place for a dog. You cannot bring a
No.
There's pens that are attached to wires.
Yeah.
This is the first podcast talking about Gremlins where somebody made a compelling case that Mrs. Deagle's the most sympathetic character. And you're right, because you know what's nice about her? You know who she is.
Right. She was a woman who finally had access. She loved money. She had something she loved, money.
Yeah.
And she had cats, right?
Right.
And
she clearly loved the cats.
Right. So you can't say that she's completely uncaring, right?
Right.
Now she's mean to other individuals, but they're not. Their hands aren't completely clean.
I guess I could identify with a woman who like hates people but loves cats.
Do you think like Chris Columbus just hated Mr. Potter? He's like, you know what? If I had the chance, I'd shoot him through a window.
Maybe.
So?
Yeah, exactly.
Because she is like the Mr. Potter of
She had a very tragic death.
Yeah.
That millions of people laughed at.
Yeah, absolutely.
Including me.
Right, and me.
Yeah, me too. But so
hey, wait, let's do a shot for Miss Deagle.
Mrs. Deagle, R.I.P. But yeah, no, let's okay, so what are your final thoughts after seeing this movie for like not seeing it for like 30 years and now revisiting it?
Yeah.
Do you like it more or less?
This one was a miss for me. I'm sorry.
It's a miss?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just the outside stuff, the chimney death scene, some of the other stuff, like the creativity there was awesome.
Yeah.
I appreciate the puppetry work and stuff like
yeah.
that. Although I do think sometimes like the Gremlins were just like they just bounced up and down like this, like that's all you got. We have one motion.
Yeah.
But I think I respect it for its time.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there is that like nostalgic connection to this movie, but as a person that had no nostalgic connection to this movie, I was so like I said before, I was so much more interested in the other stuff that anytime it went to like the Gremlins running amok and stuff like that, a lot of it was like, okay, all right, like
I get it.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
How about Rory? How about you?
First off, I love the fact that you actually like came in here with like opinions that were different from mine on it, because it was really fun. It was like really fun to discuss it. So yeah, that was great. I personally do have a very strong connection.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I just love it.
I mean, this is a classic, right?
Yeah, like, and it's very like it's just like a very joyful, fun movie.
Yeah,
and it was that like time period where like where filmmakers didn't treat children like they were stupid. Like there was some like an edge to it. Like you understood that there was like danger, like that they even like young people, old people could die in this movie. Right. But then it's like it cuts to this goofy stuff with like gremlins imitating human beings at a bar. They're just like destroying the world and like just laughing about it. It's very like it's like anarchy, and they definitely expand on that more in 2, because 2 is total like cinematic anarchy.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
But no, this movie, I think it's like it's so well paced. Like when I was watching it last night, I just feel like this movie flies, because it's like everything is exactly where it needs to be. The characters generally have arcs, except Judge Reinhold. They took his arc out of the movie. That's fine.
Which is sad, because I love him.
Me too, as an actor.
I wonder what it would have been if Judge was still in it.
If he just shows up at the end of the bank, or like in the bank scene, and he's just like, I thought I was going to have to be 30, but I think I could be a millionaire tomorrow.
My boss just got killed by a gremlin. This all worked out for me. But no, I think it's like a movie that when we sometimes talk about like that horror movie starter kit for kids to get them into the genre, like you throw that in there, because like it is very fun. It's energetic. It's not, like it doesn't take itself too seriously. Mm-hmm. And it just makes me feel happy when I watch it.
Yeah.
So I love it. And the filmmaking, just because we haven't talked much about it, but Like the special effects in this for the time.
Amazing.
Chris
I love
Wallace,
the,
I
I
believe
love
his
the
name.
practical effects.
The designs for the Gremlins, like what I think is
I
really
was going to talk about that too.
yeah. What's cool about them is that like they look like a creature,
Yeah.
like something that could exist if
They
something
have,
like that could
snake,
exist.
Features like
Reptilian,
The, yeah, definitely.
But like, and then the design of the Mogwais, you're just like it's like a marketing stroke of genius, right? Because I know
Baby
they were,
Yoda
like,
is
everywhere.
basically like a
Mogwai.
And
hairless
he's
Mogwai.
and Gizmo is so much better than that thing because that's just Yoda and a small Yoda.
Yeah.
You know, whatever, America.
He stinks.
He's
too.
repackaged.
Boo.
Oh.
But no, overall, like, I just, I adore this movie.
I definitely agree. I love the character design for the Gremlins. All their features, reptilian features and stuff. Even like their bone structure is really cool and interesting.
Oh, it's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. And even like when you see the Gremlins, get killed in different ways, like the melting ones, or
It's
like
inventive and fun.
yeah, it looks awesome, and I don't know, I just really enjoyed that a lot. But and I love the direction. I love the atmosphere. It definitely feels very
Christmassy.
Yeah, I love that, and I love Christmas movies. But I've always been more of a Gremlins 2 fan.
Okay.
Over
And
the first
that's a
one.
much more disliked movie, right? Like,
Yeah. I'm always like
up until recently.
There's
I
been, like,
I would
a
say
revisionist-
within like the last 10 years, because like that's the movie that confused me when I was a kid. Because like I saw it and I was the right age to see it, and it's
Yeah.
like a giant cartoon, and I was like, this movie's awesome.
Yeah.
But then you like talk to people, and they're like, this movie sucks. And
You
I
see
didn't
that a lot with
understand
kids'
it.
movies, or
Yeah.
movies you had like appreciated when you were a kid, like them
Right.
kind of being like that.
Yeah,
them
like-
not understanding. Like, oh, that was a bad. And like now that like we're older, like it's like I remember, like I'm old enough to remember, well, that was always a bad movie, right?
Right.
Still, I would like Adam Sandler movies. They're like,
Yeah.
it's like usually when people talk about Adam Sandler movies, they're like, oh, he was good until blah blah blah, right? And you can tell how old they are based on what movie they said, right? Because like
Yeah.
I've seen people be like, oh, he was good until Click, right? And like I was like an adult when Click came out, it was horrible, right? Right, like. So then it made me go the other way, where it's like, well, maybe Happy Gilmore and Adam or Billy Madison aren't as good as like, or maybe I was just a child for this, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I think
Yeah.
you said a long time ago where you're like, some people say like there's like two camps. It's like some people say Adam Sandler was good up until say like Click,
Right.
And he's like, and then there's people who say like, no, his career got better after Click, and then you're like, but you're all wrong. He was never good.
Right, he was never good, right? Right, like I'm sure there's maybe like a Gen Xer or older listening, right? That's like, no, like this was always poor, right?
Yeah.
That it was just like the sliding scale. Trying to think of other movies that are kind of like that. I feel like a lot of the kids' movies we liked in like like Space Jam, right, is another
yeah.
one where like if you ask a certain age, like
Yeah.
they'll be like, oh, this was like an iconic movie. And if you ask those people's parents, they'll be like, oh, I had to drag my kid to that movie. It was awful, right? That it's just like it's like a different kind of perspective.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of those movies, they would be like an acquired taste. Like that's kind of what they are. Like they're not for everybody. Like they're for people with like a certain sense of humor, and they're not bad. Like there's Adam Sandler movies like The Wedding Singer. Like I love that movie.
Oh,
Yeah.
me too. Yeah.
But like there are ones I've watched where I'm just like, that passes a fucking movie.
Yeah,
Whatever.
it's interesting because like I will be the first person to complain exactly what you said, that like movies today don't have that fun and whimsy that this movie had, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you like I'm the first person to say that. So you would be like, well, hey Casey, then why don't you like this one, right? And it's like, isn't that exactly what you're asking for? And it's like, yeah, I can totally see why you say that, right? But it's like, I guess doesn't always the dots don't
Yeah,
always like
it's
connect
not
that.
like a one size fits all.
This
kind of
deserves
thing.
to be a classic, right?
Yeah.
That like I love Ghostbusters, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's probably like a similar situation, right? Like I'm sure that movie probably has apparent flaws.
Well, you know what? Again, with
It
Ghostbusters,
I'm just kidding.
I love the second one.
Me
and
too.
A lot of people hate the second one.
Dude, we
Yeah.
talked about it in the one episode. Like
Yeah.
we're like me and Matt Rinaldi.
Right.
We're unapologetic fans of Ghostbusters. In fact, like some people, they'll complain about like the 2016 movie or the new ones. I just left the party when they were no longer written by like Harold Ramis and Dan Aykroyd, because I'm like, the reason those movies work is because of those four actors and the writers.
That's
Yeah.
what I did with Star Wars,
Yeah.
and I never regretted it.
Yeah.
You know? Like
Dude, you
Yeah.
told me that a long time ago about Star Wars. And I think about you all the time with Star Wars. Because I remember you said something about like how after they sold it to Disney,
yeah.
and they basically didn't re-release the original trilogy
Yeah.
unaltered, you were like, I'm done. And at the time, I was like, no, man, Force Awakens is
Right.
gonna be awesome.
So-
and now I'm like that Star Wars fan who's no longer a Star Wars fan.
I have a kind of like a Force Awakens story. It's not important, but it's like I remember I was living in New York City at the time, right? And I kind of wasn't like feeling good about like life, right? And like I remember it was the night before Force Awakens came out, and I remember this is back when I used to be on Twitter before it was like a hellhole, right?
Right.
And I remember seeing a lot of people, maybe even you, EJ, right? Like being really excited, like talking up Force Awakens, right?
Yeah.
And like that didn't like usually like 99 times out of 100 I'm a kind of person who's like, yes, you go for it, right? Like be excited for the things that you're excited about. But in that moment I wasn't, and not necessarily ashamed of myself, but the reason why was it was like I felt like I was seeing that future, right? And I remember making a tweet, it doesn't exist anymore because I've long since deleted my Twitter, but it was like, it's like you better have this happiness for as long as you can, right? Because look at what they're doing with the Marvel movies. You're not just signing up for The Force Awakens. You're signing up for 10 movies in 10 years and TV shows and comic books, right? Like you have two really good movies, two kind of good movies, and two acquired tastes.
Yeah.
You can walk away with that right now. That's a good deal. You no one can take those away from you.
Yeah.
I don't care if this next one is a 10 out of 10. What about the next 9, right?
Yeah.
Are you ready for that? And it was just like no one wanted to hear that, right?
Yeah.
And it was like if nobody showed up to Force Awakens, which was never going to happen, that could have actually happened, right?
Yeah.
You know,
Do you guys remember? It was a game night at my house, and Casey's like, "Yeah, they announced like 12 new projects. Are you excited?" And you're like, "Yeah." He's like, "I am not."
No, I think one time you walked in and you just goes, well, Star Wars sucks.
It's just yeah.
No, honestly, I know this is a little tangential, but with Star Wars, it's like one of those things where it's like you love something so much that you just want it to continue, and then you get to a certain way of thinking where you're like, no, I think with these franchises, it's really, really, really good to know when to leave a party.
Yeah.
And like with George Lucas, I'm like, to me, Star Wars doesn't work without him. For all of, like, you know, the great things about him and the flaws and stuff with his like directing or storytelling.
Completely agree.
Yeah, he has like, he's a conceptual genius, really. And like when you remove him, it just becomes like a product.
Yeah.
And they're just
Yeah.
kind of rehashing it. So to me, it was like, I gave the Disney Star Wars thing a try. It didn't work for me, and it's not because I'm like, you know, I'm like, oh, like, you know, all the crap that they say, the reasons why I don't like something. I just feel like it's now McDonald's, and it's not special anymore.
Yeah.
And that's
Exactly.
fine. I have 6 movies that I can
Right.
return to.
Yeah. I guess the last point I have on it was just that there is a type of person, and God, I wish I was one of them, that can exist where they can be selective about what they like, right? They can be like, yeah, I just watch A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back, and, you know, I like Revenge of the Sith, and I like Andor, right? So that's what Star Wars is to me. And I can't remember, you know, I don't think about the rest of it, right? But like they've created these like cohabitative worlds, you know what I mean? So it's like
Yeah.
the people that are able to like compartmentalize what they like and just watch the good stuff, I'm almost like envious of them, right? But for me, it's kind of like an all or nothing package, right?
Yeah.
It is the sum of its parts, and yeah, it's just
My
I
thing is
agree.
like with film in general is that like I love when there's like a vision and like a real artistry present, and once you remove that stuff just to sell like toys or to get a shit ton of money for this stuff, I just disconnect. And I can lie to myself for a little while because it's sad. Like you get to a point in your life where you're like, all right, they're not making this stuff for me anymore.
yeah,
Right.
And but I'm like, but they did for a while, and I think honestly, like I can appreciate a lot of the stuff with the prequels, but like that original trilogy is a perfectly told story for me, and I felt satisfied with it for years. And then they started adding to it. And now it's just like Star Wars is a dead brand, and it's a bummer.
yeah.
Right.
They ran it into the ground, and it's like, you know, it's sad that we were all kind of cheering that on.
Right.
You know?
Not me.
Yeah,
Like,
not
it was
you.
just- it was
No,
like-
day one,
I was-
Casey,
yeah.
I could verify.
And that's good.
For Vase.
That's,
Yeah.
But
Because I just watched the other stuff that I like just get dragged
Right.
through the mud.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know? To me, it wasn't worth. It's so funny. We were talking about Blade Runner to start, right? I was the first person. I just had the same attitude that I was like, oh man, they shouldn't be making a sequel, and then they did, right? And I saw news this week. They're like, oh, we're gonna make a third, and I'm just like, stop while you're ahead. It's like
Stop while you're ahead.
You found plutonium twice, right? Like you were never going to do it again. The odds are so stacked against you. Like, please don't.
Yeah.
where I land with all this stuff, and maybe we can get into our plugs, but where I land with or emojis,
Right.
Where I land with all this stuff anymore is that like there's a point where it all starts just feeling like bad fan fiction. There's like that original thing,
Yes.
and yeah,
Sorry, I have one more thing to think about you, right? I heard someone else say this. It was a Twitch streamer, but he was absolutely right. When George Lucas created Star Wars, he was influenced by other stuff. So Buck Rogers, samurai movies, right?
Yeah.
You could
like
see
Kurosawa movies,
right.
Yeah.
So Star Wars at its very foundational core was all of these things that he loved. The people that write Star Wars now were influenced by George Lucas.
Yeah.
So it's almost like cloning a clone. Like that where the original had pulled from all of these amazing ideas, it does not do that anymore. And it's almost like derivative in
like
amongst itself.
inbreeding.
It's inbreeding, right? So it's like
inbreeding,
each
yeah.
generation
Yeah.
now is now like lesser and lesser and lesser because we are so far away from that original source.
And
I agree.
It's a shame,
Yeah.
but that's why it's okay just to check out and realize that you could waste your life watching things that you're just like, oh god, I hated that, or you could delve into the millions of other movies that are actually worth your time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I love Ninja Turtles, and I'll see whatever Ninja Turtle stuff. Right. There's times where I absolutely love it, or it might be okay, and then there's times where, like the latest one, I wasn't
Man, I
a
like
fan
that
of.
movie.
Yeah, I know you loved it,
love
and
that.
I was like, it's not me. Yeah, I just wasn't into it.
I like a lot of modern movies. I
Yeah.
left and I was like,
Yeah. I'll always give something the benefit of the doubt. Like,
You're the best at that, seriously.
yeah,
I always try it no matter what.
Yeah.
Because if you are, like, I feel like sometimes, as a fan, I like I said, I'll use Ninja Turtles as an example. I love Ninja Turtles, and anytime like a new thing pops out, I always like give it a shot, and then sometimes I love it, or sometimes I might be like, oh, I'm not into it, but I still have the stuff I love, like those original movies. I still have them. They didn't go away. So it's like I can still revisit those. You know what I mean? Yeah. Anyways, let's get into our emojis for this film.
Mr. Clocker.
Mr. Clocker,
I'm
you
just
go
going
first.
chicken, right? Because I think my biggest takeaway, maybe I'm really hungry from doing this podcast, but like, dang, that plate of chicken looks so good. And
I like it. Rory?
My emojis are very simple. I have a dog for Buddy or Barney, and about a dozen cats emojis. That's where I'm leaving it.
rest in peace, Mrs. Theo.
Rest in peace.
Yeah.
You beautiful woman. And also just a heart, man, because I love this movie, and it's always so much fun to revisit it and find new and exciting things that are kind of dancing in the background, like that fucking time machine scene. It's just wonderful. Anyway, how about you?
I have a cigarette for
Three
for Rand.
cigarettes.
Yeah. And then I have a Santa Claus for Kate. And
Is there a chimney emoji?
I wish there was a
Look at
chimney
chimney
emoji.
With like legs sticking out of it.
Hold.
And then
There is no chimney emoji.
oh, okay. And then a Christmas tree, because I always was a fan of that scene with the Christmas tree.
Sure.
Awesome.
So, yeah. All right, now let's get into plugs. Casey, do you want to start us off and plug
Something.
some stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. So, thank you for having me, first and foremost.
Oh,
right? Like,
dude, thank
I would
you
like
for
to
coming
plug
on.
the frequels. You know what I mean? Like, you guys are awesome, and you give me a space to talk too much.
Casey, if I could have you on this show every single time.
Yeah, if you were
would.
like,
Yeah.
hey, do you guys need a third? I'd be like, yeah.
Yeah, if you had
We
like
definitely-
the time in your life, like you're just like so much fun to listen to, and just like I also like, you know what I really like about you? Just give me a moment to compliment you.
Oh, please. Oh, go ahead.
No,
These are our plugs for you.
One of the things that like we're all really good with, and you excel at this, is that I love that you just have your opinions and you're not like, trying to kneel to anything. Like you're just like, I watched this movie, I liked things about it, I didn't love certain things about it, I'm okay with just saying the things that I don't like, even though it might be like controversial to some.
Right.
And you just come in here and you lay it out there, and it's always very authentic and hilarious, and it's just awesome to have you on here. I've been so pumped to
my foundations. I was an English major, so my foundations were in like literary criticism, and I have like just two simple rules. Like I will never be mad at somebody else's opinion.
Yeah.
And
right.
like don't be mad at my opinion, right? And it's just like I was so obsessed with like top 10 lists and like, oh, what's my favorite movie of the year or decade? And I can't tell you the last time I've even thought about like contextualizing stuff like that.
Me too.
You know what I mean? It's just I'm just I'm tired of it, to be honest with
Dude,
you. So,
people ask me that all the time. They're like, what's your like top 10 movies of the year? And I'm like, I couldn't even begin to care.
Yeah, which is why it's for my actual plugs. Like I'm gonna plug two things. They're just random and weird that I really enjoy. The first is towards the end of the summer, a video game came out called UFO 50.
Okay.
And I can't stress this enough. It's a new game, right? Like all the games are brand new, but the bit of it, the hook, is that there was this company called UFO Studios, and they made 50 games before they went out of business, and they were just lost to time. So they're like, kind of how we sell like HD collections or remasters.
Right.
It's remastering your all 50 of your favorite UFO Studios games. So they're all these old like 1980s NES games and stuff.
Oh, that's awesome.
But they're essentially 50 brand new games. And what they have is they have like 2024 like game design to like these old school like 1980s games. So like these games would never have been created in their original time. They're like way too clever, and they're freaking awesome. So I want to shout those out because I am going to start streaming again on my Twitch stream, which is twitch.tv/brainwrap. And that's like one of the games that I really enjoy playing, and they're really fun to watch. And the other shout out I have is just an anime that has come out recently called Dawn to Dawn. I highly recommend it. It just very rarely do you get something that like speaks to your like sentimentalities like directly, but like it's like a goofy alien horror kind of show that
awesome.
I'll show you the theme song afterwards, right? But it hits on almost like an X-Files but comedic. Like to me, it's like what a modern Gremlins would look like, right? And it like I've read the books for a couple years, but whoever's doing the actual visual of it is just doing a tremendous job, and it really is a delight.
And what is that called again?
Dawn to Dawn.
Dawn the Dawn? Like D-O-N?
D-A-N.
D-A-N?
D-A-D-A-N. Dawn to Dawn.
Oh, okay. All right. Awesome. Rory, how about you?
I'm going to plug Raven View Productions. That's how you're listening to this wonderful podcast.
I know about those guys.
You do.
They're awesome.
You've worked with them.
I worked with them multiple times.
That's how we get these episodes out, and something I'm cooking right now that I did something today with something that I've been writing up, and I got so excited just like conceptualizing it, and then when I was reading it over, I was like, that's like a thing, like when we're talking about spoilers, a full feature.
Yeah.
It's not one of those things where I'm like, tune in next week, I'll let you know how the it's a thing. But Raven View Productions, we have Fourth Cut Reviews.
Yes.
Our keyboard warrior buddy Chris Conforti.
That's right.
Going on that internet and writing up reviews and filming videos and podcasts and such. You can look them up. You should look them up.
Yeah.
We got Variant Season.
Hell yeah.
Pal Will Perna and his band of awesome musicians crushing it, writing some of the best produced rock music that you're likely to hear. Gravy Diggers, the lawsuits have been falling away, and I'm just saying, for all you people that have survived, give it a thank you.
Get it before it gets you.
Yeah. Sports Streamboat.
Yes. Yeah.
The king of comedy in my book. One of the funniest people I've ever met, and he literally puts content up for free, so you should check that out. Friend of the show, Dave Gonzalez, Real Chronicles, was on our last episode we did of Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2. Just an awesome great guy, cinephile in the truest way, and you can check out his reviews on Rotten Tomatoes. I'm a huge fan. And then most importantly, Kitties of NEPA Pet Rescue. I know I typically go into a wild tirade of belittling you, those who are listening right now, but I'm just going to say, we're all kind of sweating right now because there's like a snowstorm or something that's approaching.
Yeah.
So what I always think about is that there's a lot of cats out there that probably need homes and food, and you should get involved with Kitties of NEPA and pet rescue and adopt some cats, because I have 2 and they've made my life better, and they will make your life better as well. And some of Mrs. Deagle's cats,
I was gonna say, be like Mrs. Deagle.
yeah, just have so many of them that I mean, even that monstrous woman in the movie is softened by the presence of cats, and that can happen to you too.
So true.
But yeah, so look up Kitties of NEPA Pet Rescue. If you want a quick way to look them up, you can find them on Facebook or go on our website, Ravenview. Oh my God, Ravenview. No, that's not what it is. FREAKQUELSpodcast.com.
Yeah.
And there's a link there, so check them out. And I would not be comfortable with myself if I didn't call you a bunch of fuckers afterwards. But go ahead.
Right.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. Really quick, I want to plug a couple bands and stuff. My brother's band, Kids on Bikes. Check them out on Spotify. Adam Farley's music. You could check that out on Spotify and iTunes. Chris Alou, he has some stuff out there on Spotify. Of course, the new metal messiah himself,
Jon Snow. Metal Messiah.
He is the best. So check out Eastern Tribute Collective on Instagram, on Facebook, and all that. Check out their live shows; they're amazing. Check out also Three Jacks Burger Bar. It's in Dunmore. You get the best stuff. The best stuff that you could get here. Yum yum. Also,
Hey, you don't feature Mogwai's Three Jacks After Midnight.
right, yeah. Also, check out Comics on the Green. All 3 of us are huge fans. Plus, our buddy Becky works there, and she's awesome. And she was on the show for Scream 3.
Uh-huh.
And
One of my favorites.
she was awesome. Her and Macy crushed it. Also check out.
They're recovering from the Gravy Diggers pot pies as well.
Oh yeah, they were not feeling it that day. But I do have to say, I just want to give a shout out to one of our favorite people, Elle Snow. She's awesome. She is currently doing a play, and it's gonna be
Scottish play.
The Scottish play in January. So keep an eye out for that at Actor Circle. She's amazing, and she's playing one of the witches, and she just crushes it. Finally, check out Freakquels.
She must hate that, by the way.
she loves getting so freakquelspodcast.com. Check it out. You can buy merch there. We have shirts, glassware.
Get caught up on the show.
We have pictures.
We've got a lot of episodes out there
Links
for
to
you guys.
everything, like our Instagram, Facebook, and all that. So, check out freakquelspodcast.com. And right now we still have that deal where it's 20% off if you use Hard Edit. So, check it out. And then, before we go, thanks to our guest, Casey Clocker.
Oh, no, thank you guys.
The
for
great
coming on
Casey Clocker.
and just crushing it. And
effortlessly.
And also, like, you are doing a disservice to yourself if you have a Twitch and you're not following Brain Rap. I'm seriously, it's like a disservice to yourself, because he is like the best person to watch and listen to as he plays video games. You're freaking hilarious, and also just like super informative about whatever you're playing.
Worst games humanly possible.
I remember being so stressed out. You were playing like a Super Mario Brothers game that was like made by fans, and it was like there was just like fireballs and everything, like, and you like aced it, and I'm like, you are so incredibly good at video games.
Gremlins 2 NES game just unlocks something in me.
You know what? You should stream that.
Yeah, I considered it.
Yeah. But you, dude, thank you so much for coming on to the
thanks
show.
for having me, of course.
Risking your life to come out during
Yeah, if I don't die on the highway on the way home, I'll gladly.
Yeah.
Casey was actually our fourth choice for tonight, but 3 of the other guests died on the way over
didn't
here.
make it.
Right.
Yeah,
They just couldn't make it.
Casey, we need you.
We need you, buddy. But with that being said, thank you so much. And thank you to the listeners at home. We love you guys. We couldn't do this without you. And finally, thank you for listening to
Don't sue us.
It's Life.